today. So Tobias, thank you very much for joining us. And you are in control now.
Well, Ed, thank you very much for the opportunity to present here today. I welcome everybody of the attendees also from Berlin, Germany. That's where we are located. And we consider Berlin to be the home of folding. So my name is, as mentioned, Tobias Pernkopf, and I'm the sales director for ST Folding Systems. We are a manufacturer of wide format folding devices. But before we dive right into the different models and products and so on, let me start by briefly explaining the purpose of our devices, just to get everybody in here on the same page. So our products are designed to fold wide format plans and technical drawings, which are typically printed in a D size or E size format. So let's just say big. And to have them more handily and processable format, such as 8.5 by 11 or 9 by 12, small. So these drawings need to be folded down somehow. And this is where our machinery comes into play. Because, of course, it's much easier to distribute and to archive plants when they are on a smaller scale size. And like if you have 1 or 2 or 3 plants, you can do all this by hand fairly easily. But there comes a number of plants where this is just not efficient anymore. And various companies out there do have still quite a lot of plants, just when you would think of energy, railroad, utility, architects, construction, and so on. So there are many fields where plants and paper are still in play, and well, we hope for a considerable time this will stay this way. So, and when you reach this number of plants where you just cannot efficiently handle them just folding by hand anymore, our folders provide a dramatic improvement of your efficiency with the folding task. So there are various shapes and sizes of folding devices, depending on the volume and the budget a company has available. And the most sophisticated folders, they are directly attached to the printer as an add-on, one could say. And the prints are directly received from the printer and automatically folded. So you already get the finished fold package out of the system without any human involvement. This is, of course, top of the line for professionalism and efficiency. But of course, they're also the most expensive devices. So that's why they are mostly to be found in the high industry sectors. And today, I rather like to focus on the smaller category group of devices, which are so-called offline devices. I don't know if you can see, I hope you can see my website here, and there we also have the differentiation of offline folding systems and online folding systems. And as I said, I would like to focus on these offline systems today, as they are also quite charming, not being so complex, and but still providing a great help with the daunting folding task, and to make it much more efficient than just to fold by hand. So, and I like to present you all of these machineries and this technology through our website and newly released product videos. So without further ado, let's get started. So, and before we get to the product videos, there's also a company image video of ourselves right here available on the website, and I'd like to play it real quick just to give you an impression, a glimpse how big we are, what we do, and how it looks like. So let's go.
Tobias, remember to turn on the sound for
I'm just
video.
yes, I'm
Okay.
looking for the sound.
Okay.
There we are.
We got it.
We got it. Thank you. So as you can see, this is one facility we have here in Berlin, and there are no other
Tobias, we turn yourself back on now. We can't hear you talking. We still can't hear you. I think that maybe the sound of the video turned your own sound off. Tobias, I think it's on your end because it shows on our end that you are not muted on Zoom.
yeah, no, maybe now.
Now we have it. Now we have it. Yes.
I'm so sorry. This is just a technical difficulty here.
No problem. No problem.
But you could see the video.
Tobias,
no?
let me mention also, if you are able to make a full screen of the video, it will be bigger on the Zoom screen.
That is a very good advice. I will take care of that with the next videos I'm about to play here now. Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Because now I would like to start with the product and just to show you the entry level machine, the Astrofold 3000, which is a nice and handy offline folder. And we call it the welcome machine because it is the welcome product to the world of automatic folding. So let's get started right here and use Ed's advice and put it in full screen. Can you hear, no?
Yes, we can hear it. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, this is a simple two-step device, but you got a tablet on top. Just take your plan, feed it in, it comes out fan-folded. This is the mechanism we're using on all our machines. Comes out fan-folded, you take it again, feed it again for the cross. Nice and neatly, 8.5 by 11 or 9 by 12, whatever you like. The table can easily be tilted down. There's also a wide version of the machine for extra wide plans. It's also possible to process long foldings, to have small packages. It's an optional feature here. So this was the entry-level machine, Fold 3000. And yes, this is of course one of the most selling machine, just because it is not such a big investment. Now we come to the next bigger machine, which is the Fold 3010, is what we call it. It does the fan and the crossfold in one step, in one pass already. So you don't have to touch the fan folded document again before inserting it as on a 3000. Again, same touch display. But here the plants already come fully finished out of the machine. It also offers a wide variety of customized fold styles, and you can do a lot with the machine. So it goes in, same fan fold principle. And then it goes directly to the crossfold unit, and it's being crossfolded. Comes out, finished. Fancy animation in the end here, but I think it's I like them videos a lot. So, and this is the top of the line product, the Fold 6010. This is the most sophisticated offline folding device you can purchase for money at this time. And I'd say let's get right into it and also play the clip. Again, also you feed it only one time. Plant is being fed and cross-folded, and it's also being a tab applicated to it. So you can bind it into a binder already. You will see in a second what I mean. See the little plastic strip, the holes inside. This is for filing purposes. And this makes this the biggest machine. So there's a tab roll where you have to exchange it. Different type of tabs we're offering. And they also have the nice benefit. You can look at a plan without taking it out of the binder. Then just fold it back in. So this is the range of our offline products, and I'm very happy I could show this to you. And yeah, what also I wanted to inform you about that in the US we cooperate with this company, Large Document Solutions. They're located close to Denver in Sentinel, and they have installations, as you can see here, all over the United States, and lots of experience, not just with folders, but also with stackers and printers, of course. So Large Document Solutions would be our distributor for the US. So if you are interested, and they could give you like the best local conditions, and because the logistics is not getting easier at this time, but there you would get all information regarding local conditions and support in the US. Maybe lastly, I'd like to just show you that we also have a YouTube channel here where we present certain videos, online machines with different printers, for example, and yeah, more videos may be found here. And that is basically all I wanted to let you know about. Folding is still more frequently used here in Europe, we see. In the US, rolling is still in place in some destinations, and we of course think this is not the most economical way to storage prints and archive them. So we think folding would be the better solution here, and we're trying to get this message across the pond. This would be all from my side, Ed. I don't know if I run a little fast here.
That's okay. Thank you very much, Tobias. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Attendees, as before, if you have questions, please use your Q&A tab. But I would like to ask Tobias a quick question. So in the United States, what types of businesses have you observed are using folding machines instead of rolling? Because as you mentioned, rolling is still by far predominant here, but there are some industries that prefer folding, correct? Can you tell us briefly what those are?
Yes, of course. I don't know what they really did before. I just know of some places where we have folders installed. There's, for example, like a Honda manufacturing plant, I think out in California. But I don't know. But these kind of big manufacturing companies could be a typical place. Then I remember in Minneapolis there was a submarine institute. Somehow colleges also started picking it up. I sold one to the University of Michigan, and I think another one. So colleges starting to pick up on this, and of course reprographics, energy. There's also, I think the military has some. So, but I don't know if they rolled before or whatever they did before, if they had a different machine. I just know of a couple of places that we could win in the US, and unfortunately there are not so many yet, but I hope they will. There will be more soon.
Now, Tobias, if a APDSP member who is a equipment dealer, which many of them are, wanted to place a folder at a manufacturer or some other location, meaning they want to resell the yes. folder, would they contact Large Document Solutions, the distributor, or contact you directly, or how does that work?
Yes, so Large Document Solutions would usually be like the first address you go to, and you see, because there's just the experience, and it's a niche market, you know. It's so if you believe there could be a broader cooperation, so not just one single unit, but like more of a business case, then of course we could also think about building you up as another distributor in the US. But if it's just one device in the beginning, it's probably all sites are best served. This is our experience if we go through an accomplished distributor first.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that it's probable that our members would have onesie or twosie here and there to place, as opposed to becoming full-on dealers, but that's good to know.
Whenever there's just interest, or you see a customer who's fussing about the folding, you know, help them out with the folding device, and how and through which route we get it there is only secondary in my belief.
Yeah. Right. And I think that members who have clients who fold obviously might be interested in investing in a folder to use in their own reprographics shop, so that for that particular client, instead of giving them rolled prints, they could give them folded prints. So if they have a client, for example, who is headquartered in Europe and needs to create prints that ultimately are used in Europe or used by European engineers or something here in the United States, then having a folder on their floor would make sense.
Yes, of course. And what I also always like to say is, these architects, and they put so much effort in the content of the print, and then they don't mind where it's printed and where it's folded and how it looks like. But this is just part of the total package. We believe that it's also needs to have a certain shape and form to.
Right. As I think you showed in one of your videos, Tobias, a folded print with a properly attached tab can be put into a binder and then still unfolded as if it was unattached. That way it keeps everything neatly together and easily accessible, whereas the rolled prints obviously are all tucked in together. It's a matter of culture, I think, in that the United States, the AEC industry is used to rolling and hasn't yet learned the advantages, the pros and cons, at least, of folding.
Yeah, but I have the feeling that it's the tide is turning.
That's good to hear.
So. Well,
what gives you that feeling?
Well, just the sales growing, like all over the country, east, west, north, south. So it's getting more interest. We see Canada, we see Mexico. As you said, it's a cultural thing, and maybe it just takes time to this machinery. Also here in Europe, it's not so old, so it's not like digital printing is like not so old. You cannot have 100-year company or something, because this printing technology is just not that old. So maybe it'll just take some time and every day.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear. Great. Well, Tobias, thank you again for your participation today and for being a member of the association. We appreciate your support, and we hope that we can sell some more folders for you among our members. So.
Yeah, that'd be great. Of course. Thank you, Ed,
Great.
for the platform and for your steady service through the years. And we're very thankful to be a member of this association.
Great, thank you. Attendees, we have 7 minutes before the next presentation, which is Repro Connect with Joseph Zobari. So I'm going to take the spotlight off of Tobias here.
Yes.
I'm going to turn my own video back on. And we have about, let's take about 5 minutes to take a break. And attendees, just so you know, the reason I am letting people end early and not starting the next ones immediately is so that people who are planning to tune in at a particular moment can do so without worrying about missing their slot. So folks, let's take, like I said, about 5-minute break, and then I'll put the spotlight on Joseph and we will go forward from there. Thank you. Hi, Joseph. If you are ready, I will put the spotlight on you and we'll start in about another minute here, okay?
Okay.
And you can go ahead and take the screen if you'd like. And I will introduce you, Joseph, in about 60 seconds, and then we'll get going.
Sounds good.
Okay, welcome back, attendees, and welcome to those of you who just joined us. Thank you for being here today. I want to tell you, especially if you just joined us, that you can ask questions using the Q&A tab on your screen. And I'm now going to introduce Joseph Zobati from Repro Connect. Joseph is a member of the APDSP board, and Repro Connect is a vendor member of the association, and we are grateful for his support. And Joseph, with that, you're up.
Thank you very much, Ed. So yes, I'm Joseph. I'm with Reaper Connect. I'm the founder and president over here, and we provide an online sales platform for reprographers. We've been doing this for almost 2 decades, and we are now very privileged to work with almost 1 out of 3 reprographers across the country. It's pretty neat. Many of you might have already seen parts of a Reaper Connect demo before, and today I'm not going to go through basic software functionality. I'd rather look at a couple of the more sales-focused capabilities that our customers are using, because you can have the greatest features in the world, but it means squat if no one wants to use it, right? Now, when I present, I talk a lot about outside sales, using Reaper Connect to grow your market and your customer base. But today, I want to look at the topic of customer retention or stickiness. Now, when I think about stickiness, the image that comes to my mind is nougat. I lived in France for about 1.5 years when I was a teenager, and I loved this stuff. It is made with honey and pistachios and almonds, and it's hard to pull apart. And yes, it will stick in your teeth for the rest of the day, but oh, so delicious. Frankly, if you're watching this video on replay and not live, I wouldn't mind at all if you just paused right now and went off and found some place that will ship you a fresh batch. It is absolutely worth it if you haven't experienced it before. Back? Okay, let's go. This is what we're after: a strong, hard to pull apart, sticky relationship with customers. Because I keep hearing reprographers say stuff like this. They keep telling me how the industry used to be more based on relationships and loyalty. In the good old days, a customer stuck with you for years and years, and you took good care of them, and everyone was happy. And now a customer switches at the drop of a hat. If I had a nickel for every time a printer had said something like this to me, well, let's just say I could buy a whole lot of nougat. I think what we're really saying here is that more of the printing business is becoming commoditized, where customers feel like they can easily swap one print provider for another. So what do we do with this? How do we change that? How might we lock in our customer base and protect that source of revenue? How can we create or improve the stickiness factor with our customers? Well, there's a lot of ways we could address these questions, but the main one I'm focusing on today is that of personalization. If you don't want to be treated as a commodity, look for ways to make everything you do unique. As a side note, I really encourage print shops to stop claiming that their main value proposition is price, quality, and service. That claim itself is just so common. Nearly every print shop out there claims that they offer great price, quality, and service. Customers just expect it. That's just baseline. That doesn't set you apart. You say that and you sound like a cookie cutter printer that's no different from anyone else. No, we need to be looking at much more personalized solutions that customers will actually fall in love with and will keep them coming back. Story time. Brendan's a fun guy. I've been working with him for over a decade. Back when we started, he ran a small, decently successful single location print shop for many years. Had a fairly active plan room, did okay for himself. A few years ago, he decided he wanted to ramp up the plan room usage big time on Reaper Connect. He used a feature that it wasn't exactly new, but hadn't been used a whole lot at that point. And I'm referring to dedicated plan room sites, custom designed to fit your customer's brand and website. He decided to set up dozens of these custom designed sites, one for each customer. Part of his goal was to lock in his customer base and solidify that long-term revenue. The results have been impressive. After setting up these personalized project sites for his customer base, he tells me his print volume is through the roof, printing more than he has in the history of his business. That's not something you hear a whole lot these days. But my favorite part is the digital revenue that he generated. Along with all these personalized plan room sites he set up for his existing architects and agencies he worked with, he negotiated as part of the deal a nominal download fee for any bidders that wanted an electronic set. A few years later, he is now on the cusp of breaking $500,000 in digital revenue alone. Those are just credit card transactions hitting his bank account. And it's on top of the historic print volume that he's handling. All this from a pretty small printer. And he would tell you that the personalization aspect was one of the keys to making this all happen. He has sticky customers that are not going anywhere. And he has a tremendous revenue model that just keeps climbing. But let's back up and let's talk about what a personalized plan room is. Perhaps you're not familiar with this, or as we often call it, a virtual plan room. Now, we didn't invent the concept. Plenty of other plan rooms were putting out branded, some call them portals, for example, and they were doing it long before we did. But those were often just a simple logo kind of slapped at the top of a page, a long URL with your name in it. And we wanted to take that concept and put it on steroids. When we set up a virtual plan room for a reprographer, we acquire a dedicated URL. We customize the design of the interface to match the customer's own website. We're trying to create a seamless back and forth from their website to their project. So if you don't even look too closely, sometimes you don't even realize you left their website. It creates trust. Their bidders believe, oh, I'm in the right place. This is the right project. This is where I should be getting my files. Your customers in general love the fact that their projects are now much easier to find compared to being buried under 1,000 other jobs at some generic plan room or builder's exchange. The beauty of all this is that you provide what appears to be a dedicated plan room system for your customer. The impression is huge. Looks like you're bending over backwards for them. They get a sense of ownership, and you become more of a partner, not just a print vendor. It's unique, it's personal, and our reprographers will tell you it is highly sticky. So sticky that our reprographers have set up literally thousands of these personalized plan rooms over the years. Some reprographers now won't go into a meeting with a potential customer without having one of these already set up, ready to show them. Many are now realizing that by setting these up for their existing customer base, they lock it in and protect it. Customers fall in love with having their own plan room, making it much harder for them to ever switch to a different print provider. And a note of warning, if you don't provide this, they're going to go figure it out on their own. They're going to get it from somewhere else. They're going to create a hacked up one on their own. Maybe it's just posting PDF files on their own website. But at that point, you become much less of a provider for their projects and any print orders and other opportunities for revenue that come out of that particular relationship. Let me tell you about Chris. He launched a brand new repro company in a market that already had many strong players. One of the main ones was ARC. Chris realized that offering personalized solutions was one of the main ways to differentiate from his well-entrenched competitors. He started meeting with the AEC companies around town, showing them how he would provide them their own dedicated site for all their projects and bid information, making it easier for their contractors and bidders to find what they need, keeping them informed of any changes, ultimately driving a more successful bid process, which is what those guys really want. Well, one by one, he peeled those customers away until within just a couple of years, he was the most dominant reprographer in his market. The part that most amused us, though, was that the ARC location called us. They talked to me, and they admitted that they had been utterly thrashed. And the only ways they could even imagine possibly fighting back was by getting Reaper Connect and trying to do the same thing. Except, of course, ARC corporate will never allow one of their locations to use Reaper Connect, and they shut that down fast. So we just continue to enjoy working with Chris and supporting him as he maintains those strong, sticky relationships with his customers. Another client, Eric, he had a university account that was worth a ton in print business. Problem was, this university was required to bid out their print contract every 3 years. No guarantee of a long-term business relationship. So he decided to get them as sticky as he possibly could, get them hooked, set up a customized planning solution. We even added some custom areas for their RFQs for historically archived projects, a lot of things that the university really cared about. Well, the next time the printing contract went out, Eric lost it. His competitor outbid him. But here's the hilarious part. The university was so happy with their own plan room, and they were so determined to keep using it that they required that competitor, the print shop that now held the contract, to send an electronic set of every project back to Eric just so he could post it on the university plan room, with Eric, of course, making money every single time. And it gets better. The university was only contractually obligated to send their print orders to this competitor, right? The actual university generated prints. Contractors, though, they would just go to the plan room. They'd see an order button. They'd click order. Guess who's filling that order? Yeah. Eric ended up handling a significant portion of business for this university, for their projects, having lost the contract technically, purely through personalization and the stickiness that he put in place early on. Then there's Dan. He had a successful printing business and an active plan room, and he had toyed with a couple personalized plan rooms for some of his top customers. But as he was looking for ways to improve customer retention, he decided to try an experiment. He set up dozens of these custom design sites, kind of like Brendan did, one for each of his customers, just to see what the impact would be. Keep in mind, many of these were small customers, not just the big guys. The result was amazing. He told me just 1 year later, the customers were now far more likely to put a link or a button on their own websites, linking to that custom plan that was set up for them, which is a very strong emotional tie. You get a customer linking to a site that you control, that's big. They were far less likely to switch printers on pricing alone. These customers had become even sort of sales reps for him because they were proactively driving anyone who worked on their projects right to Dan. That was powerful. And then there was a benefit that Dan didn't even expect. He was looking for customer retention. What he also got was an average increase in about 12 to 15% in print revenue per customer. Keep in mind, these were existing customers. He thought he was already getting all their print business, but he found that simply creating a personalized project site for each customer made him even more so the default printer for any printing need that they had, and resulted in far more subcontractor print orders also coming to his business that previously were getting their files elsewhere and might have gotten their prints elsewhere as well. A small level of personalization that made a difference of a lot of dollars a month in print revenue. You got to even ask yourself, what could you do right now that has the potential to increase your print revenue on average 12 to 15% per customer, right? Okay, so this is the virtual planning feature that I will bring up every chance I get if we're talking about sales. You're going to get sick of hearing me talk about it because it's just so powerful. And it is one of the only threads that really ties together just about every one of our top producing reprographers, right? The reprographers making the most money, whether it's print, whether it's downloads, whether they're doing archive sites, whether they're doing a lot of other customizations, any of our reprographers that are really just killing it. Some are big, some are small, some are in bigger markets, some are in rural areas. This is the one thread that ties them all together. They all have aggressively used virtual planograms in this personalization as a key part of their sales efforts, both outside and for inside sales. There are now a couple other personalized options that I'd like to show you that our reprographers is using. One of them is the concept of a private storefront. Right. So a lot of reprographers have been setting these up lately. We have a feature in Reaper Connect where you can just sell arbitrary products. Reprographers use that for selling paper and toner on their own. But now some reprographers are starting to say, well, hey, hold on. We can actually set up a private storefront for some of our big customers that frequently need the same products over and over. This would be, say, a construction company that frequently needs to order site signage, safety posters, decals. Maybe it's a hospital that commonly needs the same forms and pamphlets reprinted. One reprographer did this for an educational customer that constantly was ordering booklets and binders. And frankly, any decent-sized customer of any kind will need marketing material. If they're a big company with a lot of locations, they're going to need flyers and brochures and maybe trade show banners. You want to make it easy for that business to come to you. The goal is the same as before. Provide a personalized, tailored solution that makes your customer feel valued, makes it easier for them to get what they need, that shows you care about their business and increases stickiness, right? Another very similar idea we're seeing is this: custom upload forms. Presumably all of you have some kind of upload form on your website for print orders, right? But what about those customers that are high value, your top customers? Now, they're not ordering the same product over and over like site signage. They're unique print orders, but they're from customers with specific needs, and you can tailor to those needs. Get rid of the fields on the default upload form that you have that don't apply to this customer, so they don't have to type in the same stuff 1,000 times over. Provide custom drop-downs for their departments or their unique job tracking numbers. The list goes on and on. Perhaps you want to make sure that an account manager on your end gets notified for any high value file transfer that comes in from one of these customers. We're setting these up more and more for reprographers that just want to add another layer of personalization, even to this mundane process of transferring files, right? It's amazing to see how just this touch of personalization can make a big impact on stickiness. One of the reasons that these personalized solutions are so impactful is the halo effect. Now, maybe you've heard of this. When a customer has a positive experience with one product, they tend to build a favorable cognitive bias towards the entire brand, right? If you're good at one thing, they think you're likely good at other things too. So use this to your advantage, this cognitive bias. Getting customers hooked on something, even if that something isn't necessarily a great revenue source on its own, can boost and protect other revenue from that customer. A common example that we're seeing these days are archive sites, right? Maybe you have customers where they have a lot of old historical projects and you just organize those for them. And it could be at any level of the technical stack. Maybe you're just organizing folders in your office on your server. Maybe you're setting it up on Reaper Connect as a private locked down a virtual planner that they only have access to for their historical archives. And there are a lot of products out in the market that are dedicated for this, that do this even better and more powerfully. But the concept is to use the halo effect. Yes, you could charge a fee for that, and hopefully you do. And that's nothing to sneeze at, and that's revenue. But a lot of times the main value isn't that particular monthly fee or annual fee that you charge for organizing and maintaining their archive. It's the fact that you're now first in line to handle the distribution and the printing for all the new bidding projects that come out from that customer, or anything else they need: scan, color, marketing material, everything else that we could possibly think about. You manage their historical archives, and you've created an incredibly strong, sticky relationship with that customer that is hard for a competitor to break into and grab. So that is the main thing I wanted to show you today. That's what I'm actually going to wrap up. These are just a few examples of how our reprographers are using Planroom features to increase stickiness, to both grow and protect their revenue. Look, we work with so many reprographers across the country for the simple reason that we actually help impact your bottom line. I think the stories I've told today help illustrate that. Reaper Connect is not just some back office tool or one of those, outdated systems that no one actually wants to use, let alone pay for. Our reprographers are seeing revenue growth in the Planroom year after year. Averaged out across the country, 2021 is already way up from 2020. I know I'm biased, but I don't think anyone out there does what we do. And I really want to bring that to your business. We're passionate about providing the best possible online platform for the Reaper graphics industry. We invest heavily in constant development, pushing this forward every day for our clients. We're relentless in our efforts to provide insanely fast and responsive support. And we've been doing it for about 2 decades, and we're not going anywhere. So if you're looking for a partner to help bolster your sales, open doors to some tremendous new opportunities like we've talked about today, we just scratched the surface. Reach out to us. We should talk. And I'd love to take you through a whole lot more that I don't have time to show you today. Oh, one final thought. Go find someone that will ship a box of nougat to all your customers this Christmas. I promise you they will love it. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Joseph, very much. Very interesting presentation. Lots of good info to digest there. Joseph, can you give us in just one paragraph form exactly what Repro Connect is and how many clients you have, so that people who are not entirely familiar with Repro Connect kind of can grasp the number of clients that you have and the kind of the family feel that you have created there?
Sure. Well, at its core, it's an online Planroom. Obviously, it does so much more than that, as we even looked at a little bit today. But at its core, the fundamental idea is to help reprographers gain control of the distribution of construction projects in their markets. If you're the platform where projects are hosted, the platform where contractors or bidders are going to both order prints, get electronic downloads, maybe even place electronic bids now, that's something we don't do as of last year, then you stand to make a whole lot of more money than if, all that's going off to some other platform. We get the question all the time, are Planrooms even still relevant? And the resounding answer is, if you sell it, abso-freaking-lutely yes. Because again, Planroom revenue from our customers does nothing but climb. But it's a sales tool and it requires sales investment. And it's not one of those, if you build it, they will come types of things. And I think that's sometimes where people get stuck on, why should I get a Planroom? It definitely takes time and sales efforts. As far as our customer base, Ed, as you asked for, we have about 230, last I checked, 240 reprographers that we currently work with today that are using at least some form of the Planroom. Everywhere from the reprographer that's posting 5 jobs a month to reprographers that have 2,000 active jobs going on at any one time. So there's quite a bit of scale in that.
Excellent. Thank you. You've created an excellent organization there, Joseph. I'm impressed. Dave Fellman, who is our co-host, while you were speaking, had a comment, and Dave is a sales trainer, so I think that his comment would be pertinent. Dave, can you? I'm going to add the spotlight to you here. And then, Dave, you can share your thoughts with Joseph and with the other attendees. We've got 8 minutes before the next presentation.
All right. Well, thank you for bringing me in, Ed. Yes, as Joseph was starting his presentation, talking about stickiness, I was remembering my own origins in the industry. I've been hanging around the printing industry for going on 40 years now. And I came from the offset part of the industry. And what that means, what I want that to mean in this conversation is that every offset print job required printing plates, and every printing plate required the stripping of film. And all of that pre-press stuff was a very expensive part of the process. And the application of that is that when it came time to bid on a reorder, the printer that did the job the first time had a significant pricing advantage over any other competitor because we had the film. We'd already created the film. We didn't have to charge the customer for that all over again. And we used to say, if you own the film, you own the customer. That's what we used to say. I was thinking that in the modern world, the digital world, where there aren't plates or film, there's the plan room, and there's the digital storefront, and that's really the stickiness tie-in. I think it's fair to say that if you own and manage the plan room, if you own and manage a digital store, you own the customer to at least the degree that it's possible in any sales situation.
100%. 100%.
Great. Thank you for adding that comment, Dave. We appreciate it. Attendees, if you have any questions, fire them away. Otherwise, we have about 5 minutes, and then we will move on to the sepia line presentation. All right, let's go ahead and just take another pause here. Thank you both. And Joseph, thank you very much again for your service and your membership.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ed.
I'm going to turn off the focus. And in just a couple minutes, we will move on to sepia line. So attendees, if you want to take a 5-minute break, please do so. Welcome back, everybody. We have just a minute and we will jump into the presentation with CP-Align and Jeremy Evans. Jeremy, I'm going to put the spotlight on you, okay?
All right. You can hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Wonderful.
Okay, I've put the spotlight on you so you can share your screen. And then let's just wait 1 minute and then I'll introduce you to anyone who just joined us.
One second here.
Attendees, welcome back. Thank you for joining us today. If you just joined us, we are about to begin the presentation with Jeremy Evans of CP-Align. CP-Align is a longtime member of APDSP and IRGA prior to that, and we are very happy to have their membership and to have them play a key role in our organization. I want to remind attendees that you can ask questions at any point by using the Q&A tab on your screen. And don't wait till the end. Fire those away, and whenever you have them, we'll present them, or we'll wait to the end, whichever seems most appropriate. All right, and Jeremy, with that, you are on.
Okay, doing my best here. Something seems to have happened to my screen. I'm only seeing desktop, of course. Know why.
We're among friends, so when everyone understands those issues, there we go. Great.
Of course. Well, it's great to be here. Thank you very much, Ed, for bringing us along, and definitely some very interesting things we saw earlier. I will say, now that I know we have some attendees in much far-reaching solutions, and as far as Germany, I've actually been thinking about how to broaden sort of my context so that everybody, I know that everybody's on the same page. So I might be winging a little bit of this at the beginning, just so folks who have stayed up late, stuck around late in Germany, and even, who don't represent potential partners, but at least can, get something from this presentation. So with that, my name is Jeremy, and we're with CP-Align. Kim is here with me, and we're going to talk about our product PrinterPoint today. And, for a lot of folks, they understand, exactly what it is we do, but for others, just so you know, you're probably used to the in-house shop printing focus of this organization. But many of these reprographers, many of these, print solution providers place printers out at customer sites, right? They're part of sort of printer equipment distribution. And, that's become very, very popular. And, it's pushing that print volume out to smaller and smaller printers and smaller runs at a variety of different companies, whether that's, originally at architects, and now you're all the way down into plumbers and painters who have very small printers. And we make a piece of software, that is cloud-based, and it helps these equipment dealers handle the workload of managing these huge fleets of remote printers, right? And they do get quite large, so basically, contractually speaking, when they place these printers, they're assuming the responsibility on behalf of their customer to keep these printers running, right? That whether that be from service and downtime interruptions, but also proactively providing supplies like ink and toner and media to make sure that when this customer wants to make a print, there's nothing to do but hit the print button. And then furthermore, because of this service they're providing, obviously they need to track the usage and send a bill, because most of these placements are put there on a cost per usage basis, right? So, for again, those folks who aren't in this world, we soak in it all day. I think probably several of us on here know it all too well after 2 decades. We refer to this as MPS, and frankly, PrinterPoint does better MPS automation, because as they get larger and larger and larger fleets, maintaining that service level becomes sort of overwhelming, right? And so we're going to go into what are the things that we can do to automate those daily tasks, to automate those responsibilities that you've assumed when you sign these contracts. Let's see, click. Right. So again, a print provider places printers all over the city, all over the state, all over the country. I saw a couple ARC folks on here. You're obviously a huge placer of printers. You get the picture. And what we want to do is bring modern processes and team collaboration to this. And let me kind of stop here if that sounds a little heady. But what we see is, somebody getting into this business and then sort of handing these daily tasks to somebody who does it with spreadsheets, who does it with emails, who waits to hear from this customer that they need supplies, right? It's all very reactive. And as it grows and grows and grows, it becomes untenable. And so what we're trying to convince folks of is, believe it or not, you already have other systems in your company that work very, very well, like AR, like help desk, where it's clear what an employee or a staff member needs to be doing, whether that's calling this customer for a particular invoice that's outstanding or closing this case at a customer site that's clearly outstanding. But the idea is you're sharing a single list. If you close a case, it closes for everybody. If you accept a check, you're accepting that check on behalf of everybody at your company. You're not emailing each other to stay in line. So we're trying to bring some of that to this process, which we do not see very well. And the key to this is really lists. I mean, it's a concept that's been around for eons, and yet somehow, some way, each time somebody grows their business in a new direction, they sort of fail to encapsulate what's required in a list. And they tend to, unfortunately, put it on somebody's desk, and that person goes nuts for 3 to 4 years as it grows and the weight gets heavier. So, what we're trying to do is present these staff members with a list, whether that's supply orders, whether that's service alerts, whether that's invoices, present that to them with some human approval, and away they go. And, I should stop here real quickly and interject that we saw a huge uptick during COVID for this, because one of the things we've always talked about that unfortunately, we didn't, actually think it would happen this much is the reality that by placing those daily tasks with a single staff member, it's a huge liability. That person has basically created their own process and fights their way through every month. We actually have a joke that they're usually pretty grumpy folks at that company, to be honest with you, because they've been left alone to fight the storm surge of tasks. And nobody realizes that if they're not there, they don't even know what they're doing. I mean, imagine if you had no AR list, that somebody in accounting just sort of kept a spreadsheet or kept a bunch of emails in an inbox, or if in your support department, you didn't have a help desk. You just had a bunch of people with a bunch of emails and inboxes, and then you always talk to each other. If they'd start to disappear, it's a real huge liability. So during COVID, we saw an incredible sort of aha moment across our prospects and even our customer base as to how important it is to make this human understanding of it. So everybody in the staff, everybody in the management knows what needs to be done for every printer. So let's take a look just real briefly at something like supplies. We basically monitor these remote printers, and if we notice that one of these printers is reporting it's low on ink or toner or even paper, we report back as into a pending order that somebody can simply review and approve. And without going too much into the details here, this may seem simple enough, but actually when you get into folks' business processes, as with anything, there's quite a bit of logic involved here. And the idea is that, we can actually do on-site inventory at the customer. We know they have 3 cartridges. When they get down to 1 cartridge, we want to send them 2. So this isn't as simple as, oh, they're down to 5%, let's send them ink, right? This is actually highly complex. Anything that this staff member might have learned over the years that they're using their brain as the business computer in determining when to send things, we've actually encapsulated all that, right? We get it. It actually does take quite a bit of sort of, one-off understanding to really get the customers right. We actually do paper too. We know when they've been printing on bond or whether it's photo paper. We know all of that. We actually know it's 36 inches wide, and we know you recently sent them 4 rolls of 500-foot paper, and that you're down to 250 feet of that out of the original 2,000 linear feet, and it's time to send them some more. So it's quite advanced, and simply hitting the approve button. And I think it's funny. It's funny how much focus we put on that button. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you think about it, imagine if somebody in AR got a check but didn't hit the accept check button, or if somebody who worked all day in support didn't always hit the close button. That little button that I think people overlook, that doesn't seem that important. It's everything. it's everything when you're working with a team. It's everything if you want to scale from 1 employee to 2 to 3. It's everything. If somebody wants to take a vacation and you want to show somebody else how to do it, hit the approve button, just like hit the close case button, just like accept the check button. And so we put a lot of emphasis on that so that, these tasks, which, have been sort of encapsulated in one staff member's mind and are highly complicated, become very simple, right? Now, obviously these orders come in and they can be completely integrated with any system. We've got a really robust API. Gives us all kinds of options depending on how folks want to work. So no more group emails, no more phone calls, no more Post-it notes, just review, approve, and done. And to be honest with you, some people don't even review. If they're doing thousands of orders in a day, they just have the thing automated, but in an effort to keep it simple. So obviously it's the same with billing. If you think about any task in your company, and even if you are not, a good prospect for this, if you're not in the MPS, printer placement, I think there's definitely something to be learned here, which is really simple, and it's kind of all around you. And it's the idea that, gathering data remotely was neat, 5-10 years ago. And people thought that's sort of the backbone of how these things happen. But really it's, what are your employees, putting their minds to? What decisions are your employees making? Right. And building out lists, even if you're the CEO, everybody wants to work on lists, whether you've gotten hooked on Trello or Basecamp or anything else. The reality is, the future is sort of lists of tasks with a layer of business logic overlaid to help you make those decisions quickly, right? So the billing is really the same. We're going to watch the usage of these printers. We are going to send it back to PrinterPoint. We know when the billing date is. We know exactly which meters you're billing on. Sometimes that's by square feet, sometimes by square meters, sometimes by, highly complex and variable costing measures as to how much ink per square inch is on a piece of paper, because that can have a huge effect on the cost of that print to you. So you need to also vary the charge. But we take care of all that. These are all things that people used to have a spreadsheet and go find the meter on a certain day and know which meter they need to get and remember what the last meter was. It shouldn't be that way. So this can help really make this simple, and those folks can go on vacation. And frankly, somebody, dare I say, up the ladder can take care of it. And we all know as you go up the ladder, you somehow lose skill levels as to your day-to-day task abilities. I know certainly that I can't seem to mail things. We calculate all that usage, and we know exactly which SKU that represents in your accounting package. And we'll go ahead and either you can 10 key or you can integrate with it, and it does it for you, helping you to scale this side of your business. Let's see something we're going to approve, and again, all of these bills can be integrated with external systems, so we can automatically create these invoices for you. So again, it's kind of a theme here. No more group emails, no more phone calls, no more Post-it notes. Obviously, I think we're all, coming around to the reality that, why Slack, this company, was just bought for $28 billion. The workflow based on emails and is just sort of coming to an end. There's got to be shared lists. There's got to be, a collaborative aspect to just about even the most sort of mundane day-to-day tasks. And so obviously, I think you can probably see where this story is going. And the idea is printer point can monitor these printers. We can pick up all of the errors and alerts, and we can notify somebody back at your office. We can even create cases automatically based on your settings. And of course, you can dispatch somebody to fix it. And this again is all available via the API and integration options. So that is a quick context. I actually do want to show the product just a little bit, just to kind of give folks an idea of some of the complexities, which, typically you avoid sort of deep details in here, but I think it's actually quite interesting to see where something that starts so simple, hey, we'll place a printer here and we'll, make sure it's running, and we'll offer ink and paper replenishment. You look up 5 years later and you've got 400 or 500 printers, and every one of them's a little different, and just sort of how unwieldy it can be. So, in the next part, when I share my screen and it becomes a little technical, that's the point. I think that is exactly my point. So bear with me here. Can folks now see the other tab in my browser, Ed?
Yes, we can.
Great. So this is a typical printer point account, and you can see that you would have your customer sites out here to the left, and under each customer site would be the printers that you've placed there. And each of these printers is, reporting back, and is reporting back every 5 minutes. And under each printer, we can see things like its service alerts, its ink and paper usage, and its meters, right? And, the idea is, I think, if you think about this in a broad context, what I'm showing you probably was pretty great 5-10 years ago when people just say, hey, can you get me the data? But you still had this employee who knew to go to Alphabet Engineering's on a certain day, knew to go to the HP 8000, and had to go check things. But these portals, if you will, I can go look at a portal. Jill just goes and looks at a portal. That's really not a workflow. That's really not making Jill's role, as somebody in charge of an MPS program, repeatable, scalable, teachable, right? You really need to understand what, this person does every day and encapsulate it into a to-do list. And so, rather than kind of view information like this as interesting, I think back in the day, if you showed somebody, I can show you what the supply levels are of this printer remotely. I can show you the usage. They go, great. It's really not enough anymore. And so I think across the top, you'll notice our workflows, and there are things like pending orders. So for instance, in this scenario, Alphabet Engineering has a printer, and, it has, in the machine, there's 100% brand new roll. There's a 24-inch by 500. But as you can see here, there's 2 remaining. They reorder at 3, so they're below the threshold, and we're going to send them 2. So again, these are the decisions that people have learned along the way, but we want to make sure that, those people unfortunately can come and go and take vacation. The same can be here. They actually have, in this scenario, this order, they have 60% of their cartridge in the machine, but they also have one on the shelf, and we're sending them 2, right? So we're trying to make as many decisions as possible for these folks. Now, one thing I want to say that's also, again, one of these complexities that for folks in this world, we'll actually love to hear, and for folks who aren't in this world are going to go, wow, I didn't think it was so complicated, is this idea that, when you put a printer out there, your contract is in a lot of ways, it's like bringing a baby into the world. And between your customers and yourself, you're deciding whose responsibility is for it, right? Like who's taking it to the doctor, i.e. who's in charge of service, who's going to feed and care for the thing, i.e. who's going to put paper and ink in there, and so on and so forth. And what's interesting is, these contracts end up on a wide, scale of who's in charge of what. So, you'll notice that what we do is on these green orders, these are what most folks call, MPS or all-inclusive contracts. And so you can proactively send these inks and papers at no cost to the customer, because they tend to pay for those on a per square foot basis. Therefore, However, we find tons of folks who say, yeah, but I've sold printers outright, lots and lots of printers outright. I can't really proactively send them $300 worth of supplies. I need to get their approval. Right, exactly. These are exactly the complexities, exactly the anomalies that that we understand and are willing to learn to make sure we can continue to encapsulate it on a simple to-do list. And so the way we do that is, if you think about it, if somebody did not agree to you caring for this printer with ink and paper, they said, well, we'll do it ourselves. We still want to drive them back to you to buy that ink, right? I mean, I think we all know Amazon and Staples, you're not going to beat them. If somebody gets online, your name's not going to come up to where to buy ink. Just the reality of it, right? So what we want to do is say, well, instead of my to-do list, let's send that customer an email. So if their cartridges go low, they'll receive an email, branded, of course, driving them back to you. And just by hitting order now, you now have a task. And that's why these orders are the blue orders. The blue orders are requested by folks, right? But the idea is they're not different. This isn't some huge, complicated, logic tree that an employee has to remember. Do what's on the list, right? It's sort of, just like AR. The thing knows if it's net 15, it knows if it's net 30, it knows if it's net 90, right? Somebody doesn't have to go and constantly be nursing these transactions through, right? We're going to show them everything they could need to know, everything they could possibly need to know before they hit the approve button, and we re-up, those supplies. So, and the same is true, just again, very quickly, for billing. These are pending invoices, and we've done all the work, right? We know what the monthly base is. We know how you bill for it. We can even, do some fairly sophisticated math to meet with, contracts that include, base levels of square footage. Anything we can do so that this job becomes a series of tasks that almost anybody can complete. We joke during a lot of our demos that our goal is to be able to have the president of the company's daughter run this whole department while she plays Candy Crush on summer break, right? This shouldn't be something that has, 10 years of experience. I think, and lastly, and I think, we can definitely kind of open it up to see if folks have questions, but, one of the, comparisons we make a lot to is a fast food restaurant cash register, right? At the end of the day, this used to be something that you were good at. You were, carbon copies and putting, the order across the counter to the chefs. And now it's as simple as, a picture of a hamburger and a picture of French fries. And frankly, you don't even have to speak the language to take orders and do a good job, right? And again, it's not to trivialize or minimize folks. They have other things to do. And as this grows, it simply can't scale. And so we really look to that model of, like a fast food restaurant, like how can somebody, again, even if the president has to run it while somebody's on vacation, how can anybody show up and do this job with a really, very little understanding, come in and understand what needs to be done? And I think you look to existing successful processes in your business, like your AR, like your help desk, other things that are shared in real-time lists. So wrapped up a little early there, but gave us a little time for some questions, Ed, if there are any.
Well, thank you very much, Jeremy. I appreciate your presentation. Attendees, if you have any questions, please do fire away. No questions have come in, but let me ask a little bit. How many installations of PrinterPoint do you have? Are you any idea on that?
Sure. There's, we look at them as dealers, right? And each dealer will have, many placements, right? The customer list you saw in there, right? So we have several hundred dealers and tens of thousands of, printers, right? Or tens of thousands of customers, depending upon the average printer at a customer, which has been a really interesting thing to see. I think, historically, when this started, reprographers viewed these printer placements as extensions of their shop. And due to the technology, and sorry for the long answer, but what you tended to see was initially bigger printers go out. So architects, engineers, almost like miniature repro shops. But as time goes on, what we're seeing, as I mentioned in the beginning, is more and more and more distribution, pushing it further and further into the market with smaller printers. And so you're getting more and more and more customers with smaller printers rather than fewer customers with more printers, if that makes sense.
Interesting. All right. Great. Well, Jeremy, thank you very much again for your presentation. And we've got about 5 minutes before the next presentation, which is ScanWide. So Jeremy, I'm going to take the spotlight off of you. And attendees, let's take a couple minutes break and join us back here for ScanWide. Thank you. Hi, Sean. How are you doing?
Doing good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Great.
Why don't you go ahead and turn on your camera, and
Okay.
I will put the spotlight on you. We've got still 2 minutes, but let's make sure everything's moving smoothly here. Let me know when your camera is on. Oh, there you go.
It should be on now.
Yep. Okay, I've got the spotlight on you, Jeremy. So Jeremy, go ahead and share your screen. We've got, like I said, about 2 minutes, but that way your screen will be up when people join us.
Okay, I don't want to start with the screen Well, I guess I could, yeah.
Oh, no,
I'll do
that's
that.
fine. Yeah, if you don't want to, it's fine. I can introduce you just where you're at.
No, actually, I think I do want to do this screen share.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right, great. 1 minute. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to new attendees. Thank you for joining us today. We are now going to have the presentation from Sean Eikenberry from ScanWide. Just so that you know, if you just joined us, we welcome questions. Please use your Q&A tab on your screen to ask questions. And we will share those with Sean as appropriate. Sean's got something very interesting to show us today, and I'm sure you are going to enjoy watching his presentation. Sean, with that, you're up.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. My name's Sean Eikenberry, and I work with Ed Delaney, and we have one company, but it has two names. We have PeopleDocs, which does software, plan room stuff, document management software, based mostly custom software. And then we also sell equipment, scanners. So we use ScanWide for that as a DBA. So scanwide.com is our scanner brand. So we're resellers for National Liaison. We sell Context, and also we sell the WideTech and the Book Guys from Image Access. So those are basically the two main brands of equipment that we sell. My background, and also Ed's also, we worked for a company called Ideal Scanners and Systems, which was a distributor for Context. It was the largest Context scanner distributor for a number of years. I worked there for 16 years as the product manager. And we had often toyed about making our own scanner at Ideal. It never really came to fruition. There were several obstacles. Some of them were political. Context not wanting us to do that was one of them. But anyway, I always had an interest in developing my own scanner. And I had the opportunity as Ideal got sold to Context. Ed went to work for Context, and I started my own business. Quickly went through my savings and 401k, and so I had to find something to do to keep afloat. I was trying to sell software, trying to get that to take off, and having a little trouble getting traction. So I put myself out on the road to do some scanning jobs just to make ends meet. And so one scan job was going to counties in Ohio and scan these oversized books that they had at the county engineer's office. They all had them. They were very old. They were brittle. They had bindings that were going bad, but they were oversized. They didn't fit on a normal book scanner. And back at that time, they really didn't have much of a selection of book scanners, and they weren't very affordable anyway. So I built my own scanner to scan these books. And I'll show it to you. So this is the scanner that I built. It had two cameras, and they were basically point and shoot cameras that would shoot each page. The whole scanner was attached to the glass, and you had to lift up the glass and turn each page and reshoot. And it worked pretty well, except by the time I got done with the book, my arms were tired. So I knew I wouldn't be able to sell it to the public or to the reprographic industry, which is where I really wanted to sell it to. So some of the problems were that the camera technology really wasn't that good. A lot of the pages, because the cameras have autofocus, they rely on contrast of a page to be able to do that focusing. And if you had a page that didn't have very much on it, it wouldn't come into focus. So there were a lot of reshooting of pages and things that got in the way of my scan job. But I held on and stuck with it. So that was one scan job. Another scan job was and it also occurred in Ohio, northeastern Ohio. There was a lady who had a title company. It was actually her dad's. It was passed on to her. I don't even think she was in the title business. She just kept it because of the emotional attachment to her dad. She also owned the building that was in. It was an apartment building, but it had an office for this title shop. So she had a contract. BP contracted her to come in and use all the documents. They come in and they look at all her land records to try to do exploratory for fracking, basically. So they wanted to know all the property boundaries and that sort of thing. And they come in there every day and they mull through her stuff. And she finally got fed up with it. All these people coming in and all her stuff getting pawed through. So she arranged for somebody. She hired somebody to come in and do the scanning. And then I was subcontracted to come in and do that. So I scanned all her stuff. It wasn't pristine at all. They were in flat files, so at least they were laying flat. There weren't very much stuff that was rolled up, but there were a lot of scraps and a lot of stuff that had tape on it and a lot of paper clips and staples. And so there's a lot of document prep. And I had a Context HD 42-inch scanner with me to do all that scanning. And there was a lot of stopping to try to get these little scraps to go through the scanner, and also a lot of opening up the scanner to clean it, to get the paper crumbs out, and to clean the glass that we all have to deal with. So I also needed a scanner to do that kind of work. So the irregular shaped paper had to go into a document carrier or sleeve, as a lot of other documents that were in poor condition had to go into a Mylar carrier that many of you use today reluctantly, because it slows the process down. And that worked because the scanners at that time, the Context scanners had mechanical paper sensors, but now that may not work because they have optical sensors and they're just going to see right through that carrier. So if it's irregularly shaped, it's going to end where the first edge it sees. So if there's a edge on one side of the document, but it extends out on the other side of the document, it's only going to get to where the first paper sensor hits where it doesn't get blocked by the paper. So that can't be done anymore. So you need an overhead scanner, which is what I have here. So this is the ScanWide XL. I'm just going to go through a quick presentation in PowerPoint here. So basically, it's a scan table copy scan. It's 52 inches by 36 inches, larger than A0, larger than E-size scan area. It scans really fast. There are other scanners that are this large that are overhead. They take, like the fastest one is, I think it's like 17 inches at 200 or 300 DPI, 17 seconds. This scans in about 3 seconds for full size image. It scans anything. Basically, you can scan wood, building materials, fabric. It doesn't really matter how thick it is as long as it's less than 8-inch difference between the bottom and the top. And you don't have to turn it over like you do on a flatbed scanner. So flatbeds are now becoming more affordable and larger, but you still have to turn the stuff over, and you always will. They also have physical limitations. They're mechanical. Things move inside them. There's no movement here at all, other than moving the. You can move the camera up and down, and the lights are articulating, so they move. So this is kind of a utility scanner. It's not better than a sheet fed scanner for scanning documents that could go through a sheet fed scanner. You're going to do that job quicker with a Contex or a Wide-Tech roll feed scanner, and maybe a zero turn behind a Contex to help the productivity. And then for book scanners, book scanners are still probably going to get the job done better, cleaner, faster, a little bit better job, but this will scan a book. A lot of book scanners aren't that large, so this will scan larger books. Image access, their V1A scanner, I think, is like 31 inches by 25 inches, somewhere in that range. It's like a D-size scanner, and then so this is about twice that size. So the scanner table is custom manufactured. It's not a repurposed table. It's made out of steel. It's made down in Texas. It's fabricated digitally on. It's cut. The steel is cut on a laser cutting machine that's about half the size of my house and costs about $3.5 million. You know, they have presses and folders, brakes to fold all this stuff up and fabricate it. So it also has the camera. The camera is 120 megapixels. There's also a 250 megapixel unit that we're making available. The 120 is, however, is pretty good. It's probably good enough for anything that you need to do. So one of the advantages to having a scanner situation like this is that it gives you a real live preview of what you're scanning. There's also some other scanners have preview, but it's actually they have a webcam that shows you like a fake preview or a simulated preview of what. Just to show you that if the document's positioned correctly to do your scanning. Because it's a camera-based unit, has a wide depth of field of focus, which means that between 4 to 8 inches of leeway of space there, and everything in that range will be in focus when you shoot it. Also has a adjustable camera height. This boom moves up and down, so you can scan smaller objects at higher resolution. And most of the time, the larger objects, the full size objects, don't need to be at full resolution anyway. So that's fine for larger objects. But when you want small detailed objects, you see brochures that show you coins and objects. You can do that also. You can lower the camera and get up to 1200 DPI for smaller stuff. There's no shutter or mechanical parts to fail. There's no movement other than, like I said, moving the camera up and down and adjusting the lights where you want them. No rollers, no belts. It's made in the United States. It's the table and all the furniture pieces are made in Texas. The camera is made in Syracuse, New York. It has a Canon sensor. Canon makes a sensor, but the Canon actually had this camera made by a company in Syracuse, and I'm using it for document scanners. I have the rights to do that. So it's TAA compliant. It's means it can be sold to the federal government, military, because it's made all trade compliant parts. So that's the Trade Agreements Act, that where people can't buy stuff from China or Taiwan even, or Malaysia, India, Iran, North Korea, all the usual suspects, and some that you wouldn't suspect as the government not being able to buy from. But so the steel allows you to use magnets. You can use magnets to hold stuff down. It's portable. You can take the mast off. You can get it through doors without taking it completely apart. You can put it in the back of a truck. I have an SUV that's a crossover, and I can fit 3 of them in when they're boxed up. So it does come in a box. If you need to ship it someplace, you can put it back in the box and ship it. And you can take it on site. So it also has caster wheels, so you can push it around. And it also comes with leveling feet, so you have your choice of which ones of those to use if you're conscious about the table being the stability of the table, and you want everything to be level, and then you use the leveling feet. But the caster wheels, each one holds up to 500 pounds, and they're locking casters, and they won't go anywhere when they're locked. So the lenses, you can use 25 to 35 millimeter lenses, and we supply those. So there's 3 different lenses. There's a 25, there's a 28, and a 35 millimeter lens option. The longer lenses need more room up to the ceiling. That's a limiting factor for this type of scanner, is ceiling height. So the lights, they're 1 by 2 inch, or 1 foot by 2 foot LED light panels. They can extend out beyond the edge of the table, so they can extend a couple feet out. They're fully integrated, meaning they don't require their own stand on each light. A lot of the competitive scanners like this have lights that are individual lights that need to be set up separately. So that keeps the footprint small. So what can you scan with it? You can scan artwork, framed artwork, because you have the depth of field capability. You can get the whole frame. Everything's going to be in focus, including the artwork itself. You can scan fabrics, textiles, building materials, textures. We have a customer that bought a scanner from us that scans boards and anything interesting that they can make that they can print on a flatbed printer and make laminate with. And the name of their company is called Table Topics, and they make table surfaces and from stuff that they scan, which is pretty neat. So he can, like I touched on before, he can scan fragile originals, regular scraps, no need for document sleeves, carriers. Some of the places that I would go to that I'd be excited about if I were a photographer, I had equipment like this, is I would go back to county offices, courthouses, assessors, clerks, recorders, surveyors, public works. They all have stuff that they can't scan, that they've put away because it wouldn't fit through a scanner, or they had it scanned once and it didn't come out well, so they kept it, they didn't throw it out. They all have that kind of stuff. You just got to find it. So there's also cultural heritage, which is becoming pretty hot now, to scan artifacts and to preserve all the things from history that aren't going to be around forever. That's a whole different animal. You go into a place that's doing that, maybe a library system or a university, and it's just a different world. Their idea of scanning, if they scan 10 things a day, that's a big busy day for them. That's heavy duty for them. they in some respects they know what they're doing, in a lot of respects they don't. But between the two of you, you'd know everything. You'd be able to get their work out a lot quicker than they do themselves. And you just got to convince them that it's more cost effective and it's going to be easier to make their life easier, and they're going to get it done in their lifetime if they ask you for your help and you come in there and you scan stuff for them. That's new business, and that's what everybody's looking for. So another application is Mylar. You can put a white background down and shoot film. Mylar and vellum, parchment can all be, there's no glass to scratch. Paper clips and staples, it doesn't matter, no problem, no glass. But yeah, the Mylar can be a problem with the glass because it has a coating on it that it kind of burns the glass, it gives it a sheen. So this can help you. You can also, if you have maps that are folded, you can put your own plate glass on it. Plate glass is fine. I don't actually sell it. It's hard to ship. If you've ever bought a frame online, you don't get the glass with it unless it's a very small frame. You can get acrylic. Acrylic is not good with documents because it has a static charge to it. The document will stick to it. So when you lift the glass up, the glass will have the document on it. So if you like that, then if you like the static charge or the static cling, then you could use it. But I find it annoying. So glass is better to flatten objects. So these are the competitors. So back in the day, there's probably nobody old enough to remember this, but the reprographic shops would have overhead camera systems up on the ceiling where you could move them and position them over a table, and you could shoot camera-ready art. And that was the pre-press workflow, was to get stuff, you paste up a mock-up, and you know, because there weren't computers to draw stuff on then. And then you'd make a mock-up, and then you'd shoot it with a camera and burn and make film. And then the film, you'd make the plates and then print it. So a lot of reprographers did that. Then when everything went digital, those went away. But the company that made this was Cruise, and they make a scanner. It's a very large scanner, and there's movement. It has a table. The table moves back and forth. It's expensive. It's slow. It takes up a whole room. Another competitor is Zoichel. They make book scanners for the most part, but they just came out with this big monster. It's huge. It's still only A0. It's the same size as mine as far as scan area, but it uses a longer lens, and it doesn't fit in between the floor and the ceiling. So they put a mirror in, and they bend the optics, and then the camera is actually sitting like a projector, like an LED projector. And then phase one, they have a system that's very similar to ours, except for it's very expensive, and the lights have their own footprint, their external lights. And then Digital Transitions is another competitor. They have some furniture that's pretty expensive. This guy's got like a high MFP stand for his monitor and keyboard. And then Microbox, which used to make the microfilm scanners and the aperture card readers. They make book scanners, and their biggest one is called the Hornet. And it actually has two cameras. Their cameras are 71 megapixels, so they need two cameras to do it A0 or E size. And then they have various different configurations with different lights and whatnot. And then there are other table scanners, and they all have the same thing in common, that the table, there's movement. The table has to move, and therefore it takes at least 15, 30 seconds, 45 seconds to make it scan. So the Microtech is a pretty big scanner now. It's fine. It's just slow, and you have to turn everything upside down. Same thing with the Carabo, except it's more expensive. And then SMA has a flatbed scanner that's on a stand that can actually flip diagonally so that you can fit it through a door. But it's basically the same concept. You you pull up the cover and you put stuff up upside down, pull the cover down, and you take a shot. So as far as pricing goes, it's going to be probably similar to what the Microtech flatbed scanner is. It's going to maybe be similar to the Image Access V1A price point, but I'm shooting for about just under $40,000 for it, which is a reasonable price. It's the equipment is not cheap, the parts for it, and hopefully a supply chain and inflation will subside, and we can get selling some of these. So thanks for the presentation, for viewing it, for hearing what I have to say. I'm going to stop my sharing and maybe show you a little bit about the scanner.
Hey, Sean, let me interrupt for a second. We do have a couple questions, okay? Can I fire these at you?
Yeah.
One person asked, what is the resolution capability?
Okay, it's 3 to 1200 DPI with 300 if you're full height or shooting larger than the size of the table. It's only going to be 300 DPI. But as you get in to D size, then you're doubling as you go down, and so you can get down to 1200 DPI. Got
it. And then another question was, so it takes a picture, not a scan, correct? And this isn't part of that person's question, but can you explain what the difference is?
Okay, so most scanners are line scanners, which we can visualize when we have a sheet fed scanner that it can only scan a line at a time. So because there's physical movement, it's only taking it's taking several thousand scans of a page of each line and putting those together, stitching all that together. This camera works differently. It's basically it's always on, it's always running, it's always capturing. It's called a global shutter. There's no shutter that clicks and takes a picture. It's always on. You just, when you need an image, when everything's right, you just grab a frame and you make a file out of it, a TIFF file or a raw image or JPEG or the normal stuff. So.
Great, thank you. You've got 4 minutes left on your time. Do you want to demonstrate anything, or do you want to take more questions?
Yeah, I'd like to. How many more questions are there?
One more just came in. The person says, "Can we see a picture?" I'm not sure. Whoever asked that question, can you explain what do you want to see a picture of? Or a scan. Oh, I guess
yeah,
they want to see.
Let me do a scan real quick because I don't have much time and I want to show you that. So let me go back to screen sharing.
Sounds good.
So I'm remoting in. There's a controller, a small computer that sits underneath the scanner. There's a tray, and so I'm going to turn on the lights and do a scan. So that's the whole scan. I was kind of zoomed in, but I can turn the image a little bit and reshoot a scan so you can see how fast. I just hit the button, and there's the second scan that I did. I also have a book cradle. That really drives up the price for book scanners, but I have a cardboard one. And you can also use foam wedges that they make. They're for displaying books, not for scanning them so much. But I'm going to use a cheap cardboard scanner and scan a page out of old National Geographic Atlas. So there it is, and I don't know if you can see the scanner, if there's a thumbnail or something, but there's a good, I would say, 4-inch difference between the top, the left and the right edges of the book and the middle, because it's in a V-shaped cradle. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that it's all in focus. And then I could just sit there and turn pages and shoot as I turn the pages. Oops.
Great, Sean. That's a fascinating piece of equipment. We do need to move on to the next presenter. But let me say this, Sean, and I repeat this to other exhibitors here today. If any of you want to do a presentation just on your own product at some point, definitely let me know. We're happy to set that up. I know Sean's product here is new for everybody, and so you might have a lot more questions and might want to see more time on it. So Sean, if you want to do a webinar just for your product, just let me know and we'll set that up.
Okay, great, Ed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sean. We appreciate your support as a member, and thank you very much for your time today. And attendees, I'm going to move right on to our presentation by Canon with Ed Lamana. Ed, if you can turn on your camera, I will put the spotlight on you and we can
Thank you.
Go forward.
All right. So I know I have to share with sound here.
I'm going to turn Sean off. Sorry, just a minute here.
Okay.
There you are, Ed. Okay. Spotlight for Ed. There you are. And Ed is in Amsterdam, as you can see, with the canal behind him. Great. Well, welcome. Ed Lamana from Canon. Canon is also a long time and valued supporter of APDSP, and we definitely appreciate his support. And attendees, if you just joined us, welcome. Thank you very much for coming today. You can ask questions of Ed using the Q&A tab on your screen. Please feel free to fire away with those questions whenever you want, and we'll put them to Ed as appropriate. All right, and with that, Ed, you're on.
Ed, thank you very much, and I want to say thank you for everyone out there for being a part of this. I can see you guys have been doing a lot today, so greatly appreciate your attention. And I'm going to go as quick as I can, and I'm going to start this off actually with the video. So sit back and enjoy.
It's time to expand the world of color and start exploring new opportunities. Remember the 1980s and 90s? Those neon, fluorescent, and pastel colors of movie posters, album covers, and clothing? Well, self-expression through color is resurging in today's marketplace. And it's no secret that a bright and bold palette is often the choice of Gen Z. Enter Canon's Image Prograph GP series, the world's first aqueous inkjet large format printers with fluorescent pink ink. This series lets users expand their printing options and produce images with bright, vibrant pops of color. The Image Prograph GP 2000 and 4000 printers offer 10 colors plus fluorescent pink ink. This unique color palette includes green, orange, red, and violet. to support print for pay, proofing, design offices, and signage markets. The GP 200 and 300 printers include 5 colors, plus a fluorescent pink ink that can brighten the education, signage, hospitality, and healthcare markets. These printers are also Pantone calibrated for Pantone pastels and Neon's Guide coded. So take a look around you. Change really is everywhere. It's time to reimagine the way you print. It's time for Canon's Image Prograph GP series.
All right, so I wanted to always do an introduction video because it kind of gives you an overall view of what we're trying to establish here. I know there's probably going to be a lot of questions out there. The first one that we've gotten when we've done a lot of these trainings is, I've never had anyone ask me for a pink ink. And we're going to answer that question about what value that brings to everybody. I'm going to start with a big overview by just telling you in 2021, actually, it's been a great year for Canon. We've actually expanded our product line in 2 different ways. We had the launch of the TZ 30,000 and the TZ 30,000 MFP back in March, which gave us in that 5-color lineup an additional item. I'm going to call it a hybrid, something that kind of breached the gap between inkjet and toner, 4 pages per minute. This product, the GP, really it's an addition to the line. It's really not going to take anything away. And we're going to talk about the market, the applications, and where it fits up in our lineup as the presentation goes through. Just want to first set everything up by saying the GP, graphic printers, or great printers, as I like to think of them, is made up of 2 different series. The GP 2000, 4000, which is 10 color plus fluorescent pink ink, and the GP 200 and 300, which are 5 color plus fluorescent pink ink. So looking at, I'm going to call it the higher end, the bread and butter, the item you always want to lead with, the GP 2000, 4000 is the largest color gamut of any image prograph printer. And I know a lot of people out there who have sold our pro printers, especially for photography and fine art, are saying, well, isn't that a large color gamut? It was, and it is, still is. But this new ink configuration with, I call it Grove, green, red, orange, violet, plus your black, cyan, magenta, yellow, gray, has the addition of fluorescent pink ink, really is going to give you this eye-popping color, okay? And we're going to talk about how this fluorescent pink ink blends in with all the other colors to give you this wider color gamut. Now, we realize there are a lot of people out there that do their own printing, they sell printers, and they're saying, well, this is a great printer, big color gamut, we'll go into the bells and whistles in a moment, but I'm selling into maybe a small school, a retail shop. And they really like the posters, but maybe this GP 2000, 4000 is too much for them. Well, that's why we came out with the GP 200 and the 300. This is simply, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, plus the fluorescent pink ink. Does have a wider color gamut than our TM products, but it's probably more affordable and it's a smaller base. Radiant infusion. Hopefully most of you guys have seen our videos on this. I'm not going to play that one now. But what this does, it's Canon technology that it takes this pink ink and it's the way all these inks come together to create a brighter, bolder color gamut than just all the ink standing alone. And it just shows how the light hits off this pink ink mixed in with these other colors and giving you the ability, to create really eye-catching, fluorescent-looking posters. So that's going to be key as we talk later. And for some of you who maybe went to one of our WebExes on this, what we do is we show the difference between it being the fluorescent pink on, pink off, and then versus the competition. And what you see is the pink, of course, is going to be more pink with our product because we have that in color. But now all the other colors, the yellows, the blues, the greens, all become brighter and bolder in a poster because of the way this radiant infusion happens. So how is Canon looking at this all together? At the very high end, our 12 color model that has the light cyan, light magenta, light gray to it, is still going to be the go-to printer when you're talking to photography and fine art. Because those people, they need the gradations. They're just, when people are printing, whether it be a landscape or a portrait, it's usually not that big of a color gamut, compared to a poster where it's got to be bright, eye-catching. And we're going to talk about why that's important in a moment. So that product is going to stay at the very high end. The 8-color model, which we had because it's faster, had less color, we call it the production, you're probably going to eat into some of those sales. On the right-hand side, I talked about our 5-color, the TZ, the hybrid model. We have the TX, the TM, and the TA. Those are still going to be sold into your technical documents, your AEC. But for those of you who've been selling, I'm going to say the TA and maybe the TM especially, into people who want to make posters, this 5-color plus fluorescent pink and GP 200, 300, you might be able to start selling those. I just talked about the markets again. Photo, fine art is still going to be a Pro Series, but now we're kind of expanding that proofing, and we're going to talk about that Pantone color in a moment. Printing companies, print for page, people who need that bright, bold color, and then more from the poster market, education, and the retail market. So why did Canon come up with this idea? We're a very technology-focused company. We've been number 3 in patents for the last 20 years. I've been with the company 22 years. So it's always about what's next, what's next, what's next. And our timing on this, couldn't have been better. We didn't foresee 2-3 years ago, we started creating this product, what was going to happen. But let's face it, what's happening now? It's the fact that, more people are, I'm going to say, home looking for something that's color is key, is what people are looking at when they go to the mall. If they see a poster, they're going to go to the website. Fluorescent colors have just in the last couple of years have really been in almost every sort of advertising. We're going to go over that in a sec. Who are we looking for in something like this? Again, it's going to be your, anyone who's going to look at a poster. But nowadays, we're looking at that Gen Z and millennials. Why? Because those are the people that are coming into power. Those are the people who are really starting working right now. And when you ask one of those people if they're on Instagram, to them, color is everything. We did some research and we looked into Redbubble, Shopify. I'd never heard of these. Etsy, the art store I'd heard of. On demand, kind of like fine art printing, where there's a lot of pop art out there. There's been a lot of resurgence. We saw a lot of that coming. So all well and good, Canon research, we turned around to Adobe. Everyone knows Adobe out there. Everyone knows that Adobe has their stock sharing sites. Canon, we go to their sites and we buy images, to put in our brochures and, some of our marketing materials. So we went to Brenda Millis, who is the principal of Consumer Creative Insights, and said, what's going on with color? What is Adobe finding? They went out and they did a really, really big study. And since March of 2020, there's been a real big change in the way we live. I can't tell you how many of these Zooms and WebExes that I was doing, starting last year, just because, we couldn't get out. So Adobe found that color really has an emotional effect on viewers. A lot of things have an emotional effect. Everyone looks at a baby and what they do, they smile. Even if you're on a plane and it's crying, if it turns to you. But really bright colors can really convey happiness. When we're finding a word that she had come up with was optical optimism, meaning you see something bright, you're going to smile, you're going to look at it. So they came out over here on the right in a whole new category of mood boosting colors for you to choose from when you go ahead and you start creating brochures and stuff like that. And we went out, we got the study, we listened to Brenda do her presentation when we were launching the product. And we said to somebody, just go to the supermarket, go to a couple of stores and find out what they're really talking about. So these next couple of slides are just really pictures of supermarket, going down the beauty and hygiene aisle, my favorite aisle, the candy aisle. Here's an interesting one, going down the cleaning aisle. If you think about it, I look at Arm & Hammer there in the middle. I go into my refrigerator, I've got the box of Arm & Hammer baking soda. It's a bland box. But now look at how all this color is in all this packaging and design. It's for made to people to look at it, to feel happier with everything. What the toys, of course, have always been that way. Medicines, Pepto-Bismol has always been pink, but look at all the Band-Aids over there. There's a lot of change in color out there. And that's what these GP printers are going to bring to us. Pet supplies, which is huge now. And I'll just go back to that for a sec because, probably a lot of you are aware out there, if you're listening, that there was a lot of people that bought pets because they were home, and pets made them happy, just like color. They're really kind of mood boosting. People spend a lot of money on their pet food. So a lot of those companies started using a lot of color. Sporting goods, of course, sports drinks, beverages, and probably the most important, signage and display is what we're really here to talk about. So there's been a lot of change out there. So now I've been talking a lot about color, the importance of it. And I think what we're going to bring here on this slide, when we talk about the Pantone license, when Canon was creating this, we went to Pantone and we just said, listen, we're coming out with this fluorescent pink ink. It's going to go with all our other colors, create this big color gamut. Do you guys have a guide for that? We all know about Pantone's formula guide, solid coated. People take a look at the Pantone colors. Every company has a logo that has 256 red and whatever different colors. We gave Pantone these printers. They went through them. They hit 99% of the Pantone formulated guides solid coated, and they hit 97% the Pantone pastels and neon guide coated. We're the first ones in the industry for an aqueous inkjet printer to get those. So this is really, really huge. On the GP 200, 300, it has the smaller color gamut. So it's calibrated for the pastels and neon guide coated. I think that's around 87% of the colors that we hit. A couple slides just about Pantone. For those of you who sell into the print for pay industry, proofing industry, you realize how important these are and how important it is for our GP printers to be able to hit these colors for you. Great value that they bring. Let's just face it, if you're a printer or if you're selling into a printer and they've got customers, really important that you're able to hit their colors and be able to do it consistently, which is a big feature we're going to talk about next when we talk about the actual printers. Trust me, not a lot of speeds and feeds in here. What I'm going to talk about is just the benefits that Canon gives versus no one else with the competition and no one else in the industry can give you. So we've got this real big color gamut supported by Radiant Fusion, widest color gamut of image program printer. On the left there is a suite of creative and workflow solutions that's all available free. On the right, I'm going to go over a couple of the most important things after I talk about this color gamut. So this Grove, green, red, orange, violet, newly developed for Canon, especially with the fluorescent pink, being able to get those colors to make a wider, expanded color gamut. Because if you look at the chart on the left, it's just not the pink that's growing as far as the color gamut versus our other printers. It's to the left where the green is, a left to where to the right where the oranges and yellows are. It really does increase it. It allows you to hit a lot more colors than any other image program printer or the competition. A couple of big differences between Canon and the competition. This is something we've had ever since the IPF 6400s when we talk about our color calibration, our sensors. It's this densitometer and more built into our printhead. We're able on our Pro Series and then on the GP 4000 and GP 2000, have this printhead read a color chart, say, okay, if we're looking at semi-gloss paper, here are the values to set it to the optimal settings. Now it doesn't matter what other type of paper we're using, it's going to all set. And really, why is this important? If you think about, the change in color. A printhead is just like any other moving machine. And if you think about this printhead with 15,860 nozzles that's spewing millions of droplets a second, as it's doing a print, there's a lot of wear and tear. Think of your car. Think of everything that changes. And your car doesn't drive, the first day as it does the 5th year, as the 10th year. Neither does a printer. So think about this. You're creating a print like a photographer, or if you do a proofing, or if you're hitting that Canon logo color, or, Home Depot orange or something. You need to make sure that color is going to be good the first time and the last time. So with this color calibration, you calibrate that printer, and lo and behold, that printer is going to, change the formulation of the ink. So the Canon red is the same as it was the first day, the last day, from print to print, and from print to printer. So huge advantage if you're selling into anyone where it's color critical. Huge advantages on intelligent media handling also, and this is on the GP, the Pros, and the TZ printers, where if you're working in a shop, all you need to do is put that roll in. The TZ, you roll it forward. On the GPs, you put it in. The printer feels that there's paper in there. It's going to roll it around a couple of times. The sensors are going to bounce off lights to see if it's semi-gloss, glossy, coated, and it'll tell that for Canon paper or non-Canon paper. You can tell if it's glossy and non-glossy paper. It'll also tell the thickness by, judging how much is on the roll, and then the length. And then it'll automatically feed. No skewing errors, no nothing. Why is that important? How many shops are people who are going to put the paper back in the box or put the barcode feature that we have on it so they know what paper is going to be? So this is really, really huge. Built-in hard drive. Most printers have them, but the most people have USB thumb drive printing, where you just walk up to it, put a thumb drive in. If you have a JPEG and a PDF, you're going to be able to print. Very important in schools on the low end, on the 200 and 300, that people can create stuff and walk up to the printer and do it. Secure printing, you can do pin printing on these. Borderless, we've always had a huge advantage being able to do micro edging, meaning we're able to do borderless printing on any size paper. Optional multifunction roll system available on the GP 4000, 2000. Again, print for pay. They're going to have to want to, sign and banner for, maybe some vinyl, water-resistant media on one. On the other one, you have your normal semi-gloss or coated paper for signage. Really makes a huge difference, in a big print shop. This way you're not handling as much. RIP support, we work with all the major RIP guys there. On the 200, 300, again, a big color gamut. Again, comes with all the software. Basically, the 2000 and 4000 have. It's got the USB thumb drive printing. It's got the hard drive, Wi-Fi connectivity, sub-ink sync system. Bigger color gamut than the TM printer, which is what it basically is, the Canon TM, in all different sides. Just a quick competitive. I hope by now you understand the importance of the fluorescent pink has on all these other colors, just not having a fluorescent pink color to do fluorescent pink. It makes everything bolder and brighter. And if you like an example of this, you can contact me, contact Ed. We can show you what this means in reality. And again, here's just showing you the wider color gamut. On the 200, 300, again, we have the fluorescent pink. The HP's got the red. We feel with our radiant fusion, our color gamut is going to be a lot bigger. So big advantage. I know this went really fast. For those of you who have access to it, we have the videos that I showed, plus additional videos. You can go to YouTube, Canon Image Program playlist. You'll see about 40 different videos up there. We have the commercial, we've got the product intro, we have the radiant fusion. We also have a lot of materials for you to learn about the product. A lot of this stuff is web ready. So we always felt it was really important, especially in today's day and age where some people still aren't seeing, don't feel comfortable having salespeople come in or end users, want to learn more about the product. We've created a lot of materials for you guys, including, social media. I mean, very, very important these days, especially for us on the Pro Series where it is a lot of kind of end users using the materials. We've created little 7 to, I'm going to say 30-second snippets of videos that you guys can use to learn about the products. Or if you resell the product, you can put them up on your own website. They're available. We're trying to make it as easy as possible, for you guys to work with Canon. And a lot of this stuff is available. So please, if you have questions, comments, just let me know. Lastly, again, why Canon is our customer support. Canon's image program support is US based. We have offices in Virginia and we have a new office out in New Mexico, kind of extend the hours and, in case something happens to one power outage or something, we have it. It's a dedicated line. This line's for you, for end users, for me, in case I want to learn about something. It's the 1-800-423-2366, option 1. So very, very simple, for us to help you guys out, in a number of different ways. And that's it in a nutshell. I told you I'd be about 20, 25 minutes. I wanted to kind of give a very high level view. Hopefully I gave enough information on, who we are and what this product is for. So if you want, I don't know if those questions were for me, Ed, or for the last one.
Ed, I think those questions actually that are on the Q&A now were for the previous presentation, but attendees, now's your chance to fire away. Here you got Ed Lamanna. Don't miss it. If you got something you want to know from Canon, ask him. While we're waiting for that, Ed, I've got a couple questions of my own. One is, so you've made it clear that the fluorescent ink is not just for spot color, not just pink fluorescent. But if someone is designing something in say Photoshop or something where the color is traditionally CMYK, how do they, and I'm not a designer, so maybe this is obvious, but how do they integrate the fluorescent? If they know they've got this available to them, when is it appropriate and how do they do that?
So good question. There's actually 2 ways. And I didn't mention this when I was going through the whole presentation, is you can shut off the pink, meaning if you're doing just technical document drawings, or if you're, trying to match something that didn't have the fluorescent ink to it, you can shut it off. Now, for spot colors, especially if you're doing a logo, you would go into the program or go into Poster Artist, Canon's thing, poster creation software, and you would just hit spot color and a little dialog box pops up, and then you can type in your values. So you'd be able to meet those spot colors by typing in the values.
Now, if you, though, like I'm looking at that T-Mobile logo on this current slide.
Yeah.
So that looks like to my untrained eye that it must include some fluorescent, or else it would be better if it did.
Absolutely.
So when T-Mobile specified that Pantone color, I can't imagine it had fluorescent in it, right? How did you know?
Well,
how much
no, I mean, that's, and just to go back to that, Pantone has a Pantone pastels and neon colored guides coded guide. So there is such an animal.
Okay. Understood. Another question, are the printers currently available, the new ones? Are they shipping in ends of fluorescent ink?
To answer your question, they are available. They are shipping. I mean, I think anyone who's in the business is very well aware of supply slowdowns on the docks in the shipping containers out there. So yeah, we started shipping these about 2 weeks ago, and we were definitely taking orders for them. And I mean, I don't have the inventory in front of me, but yes, they are available. Okay. And I know some of the questions we have gotten in the past, the printers do look familiar, and hopefully if the people who now do sell Canon, the GP 4000 and 2000 are based off the Pro Series body, same printer, same maintenance cartridge. None of the inks are the same. On the GP 200, GP 300, it's the same as the TM physical body, and they share all the same inks except for the fluorescent.
Got it. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ed, for this presentation. Very interesting stuff. Oh, we do have one question that came in. Are there any MFP solutions for the GP?
So as of today, there are not. and let's face it, if anyone out there is looking at these printers, they realize that the GPs have scanning solutions available to them. We decided just for now not to do it, only because we feel that, I mean, as you guys know, there's some great scanners out there. The scanners we sell ourselves or partner with people off of the technical document side, we feel like a photo scanner would be so expensive, but scanners do work with them. We're not selling one right now.
Got it. All right. Good, Ed. Well, thank you very much again for your time today and your presentation and Canon's support of APDSP. We
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much, everybody. I greatly appreciated the time.
Thank you. Okay, attendees, we are going to move on to the next presentation. This one is from National ASON. And National ASON is not here live. Instead, they have sent a video, and I'm going to go ahead and cue that up. So give me 1 minute while I get that rolling.
Make sure to share sound.
Okay, attendees, thank you for being with us today. And if you just joined us, we are moving on to the National ASON presentation. And it is a video, and I'm going to play it for you here.
Greetings, APDSP members, and welcome to our National ASON webinar on Context Next Image Tips and Tricks. My name is Rich Geigel. I'm with National ASON. We are the national distributor for context image scanners. I'll be the moderator for today's webinar, and I would like to take a moment and introduce the characters you may see in thumbnails around your screen. First, I'd like to welcome Mr. Jerry Gooderow of Context USA.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, Jerry, thanks for being here. Many of you probably know Jerry. He has decades of experience in the large format scanning industry. Jerry will be presenting with us today. He's put together an awesome presentation. Thanks, Jerry. Jerry didn't have a camera, so you can see that JG icon on the screen up there. I guarantee Jerry is smiling and waving his hands right now. So again, welcome, Jerry. Secondly, I'd like to introduce Mr. Doyle Cryer. He's also with National ASON.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here today, and hope you see
welcome to AZON.
Thank you for having me. I'll present any knowledge I've got, but if you got questions, call Doyle.
Your presence is always welcome and obliged to all of us, Andrew. So thank you. A lot of you out there also know Andrew. He's been in all of our context webinars before. He does a great job with us. Andrew's our resident IT expert and software genius. So again, welcome everyone on the panel today. Thanks for being here and taking the time. So on today's webinar, we thought we'd mix it up a bit and show off one of Context's greatest assets. And I'm, of course, referring to the aforementioned Next Image software, which is the application that drives the line of large format context image scanners. In addition to being a fantastic image capture program, it has been developed into an extremely powerful raster editing engine for both pre and post scanning. So for those of you who are out there doing scanning as a service bureau, we hope these tips will provide some more consistent results for you. They'll reduce your rescans and save overall time and labor, which is, you know, if you're charging by the scan, is very, very important to each of you. We have put together 6 different, what we think are very helpful tips today. We'll each take at least one turn on demonstrating these tips. And at this juncture, I'd like to mention that this is a pre-recorded webinar because of time constraints. We had to record it. So unfortunately, we won't be able to do any question and answer at the end. However, if you do have questions, we'd love to hear from you. info@azon.com, or contact us individually, or go to www.azon.com, call us, send a carrier pigeon, just get in touch, okay? And we'll put all that on the screen at the end of the webinar as well. So I'm going to kick things off with what I think is a very simple but very effective tip. So let's jump right in here. Tom, if you'd flip the screens for us.
Okay, so I've got an excellent Next Image tip for you today. It's short and sweet. It's effective. Frankly, it's a life-changing event if you're a reseller hoping to train or work with end users. So if we have Next Image open here on the screen, over on the right side, you'll see that we've got 4 major menu categories. Let me just expand one of those. So I'll just go into image adjustment and expand that. And if I take my mouse and just hover it over image adjustment and hit F1, I get the image adjustment help screen pop up immediately, drilled right down to where I am and where I need to possibly check a feature or check how to operate a particular feature within Next Image. And it's as simple as that. It's an online help screen, but it takes you directly to that feature set. Okay, so you could also get there by going over to the help screen here, saying Next Image Help, but it doesn't drill you right down to the feature set. All right, you could also right-click here. We could create a shortcut to put this on the desktop. We could export this to Microsoft Excel. And some of the versions I've seen, you could export to OneNote, which might be very helpful. So that's it. That's my tip for the day.
Okay, we're back. I hope you enjoyed that tip. Like I said, I think it was helpful, useful. We get a lot of questions here in our support department about where to find an online training manual or a manual for context, and there you go, the F1 key. Any comments from the panel?
I do. Yeah. No.
Andrew?
F1. So we get calls all the time. F1 answers almost all the things that a lot of the different calls that we get. If you need F1, be your best friend, and it'll make your support issues go away.
I hope so.
And
Jerry?
I'm so used to using the tools menu, going to help, tools, and then help, but the F1 just takes you right there, like you were saying.
Good deal. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, next up, let's look to Andrew. Mr. Brockhouse, he's going to make a presentation on image settings or presets within Next Image, and I think this is an excellent one. Andrew, the floor is yours.
If you haven't gotten to know and love the preset functions, this is something you ought to really pick up on and use as one of your favorite tips. When I open up Scan, I notice I can have 700 different settings here for sharpness and rotation and color settings and width and location. I even have functions for, of course, destination and file types, PDF, etc. I can save those as a preset here, and if you don't know how to make that work, click the just save as, and I'm going to just give this a name, Project X PDF. Okay, so I have any one of these things I can check. Those will be always fixed and saved. So for instance, my destination and save as file type and options will be saved in my Project X PDF. And I can have as many of these as I want. So if I want, color Project X, or black and white Project X, or landscape Project X, all those different things can be set, and it can be very quick and easy to get the best results out of my scans each and every time.
Okay, we're back. Thank you, Andrew. Awesome. Any comments from the panel? Jerry?
Sure, and that's such a great tip, and so nice to be able to set up presets for each user.
Yeah. Doyle?
Yeah. In addition to that, Rich, there's people use the presets in different ways, but it's a nice way to establish standards for your scanning jobs. Yes. Resolution, where files will be saved. But it's also a kind of a hidden trick that you can save things like rotation. So if you have to flip your drawings to scan the good side of a drawing, but you don't want to back out and have to make a couple of clicks to rotate and save, that can be set with a preset to flip a drawing with one click, update, and you're right back where you were to begin with. It's a great time saver.
Yeah, and as I mentioned at the opening, time saving is in a service bureau, and archiving is, that's higher gross margin. So thank you, gentlemen. Andrew, great tip. So let's see what we've got next. Mr. Doyle Cryer will present a tip entitled File Naming and Indexing. Doyle, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Companies spend a great deal of time in employee training on how to use their computer system. In fact, training is a perpetual process that goes on every day in your organization. What we don't want to do when we introduce a contact scanner into your operation is to change the need for the operator or create a need for the operator to learn a new system. This is a simple thing, but we want to empower that operator to be able to go in and do things as simple as changing to a directory using normal browse routines that we see here, typical just straight Windows commands, so they don't have to learn anything there. File names, it's the same as naming a file when you're in Microsoft Windows. And in this particular case, very easy to change file formats from TIFF to PDF, PDF to TIFF, whatever the case may be there. One thing that's a little bit different with the software, and it's some of the folks that have been around the long enough to remember the origins of the software, you can actually create directories on the fly here without having to browse out of the interface, simply by taking and typing a test directory and adding a backslash to it at the end of the path in the save in. This will actually create the directory or folder for me as I scan. Little neat trick that's out there. Also, batch scanning. If we've got the scanner in batch mode, we want to be able to have the operator effectively become a sheet feeder. Then all we have to do is click on the insert field button. We're not having to learn any type of magic commands for database programmers or anything along those lines. So it's going to set this up where we're able to use a counter. So every time it scans, it's going to increment the file name by one. Other systems in the past, this would be a matter of doing something like that, and the operator would have to know to type that each and every time that they wanted to create a batch file. Here it's an easy insert field. Choose the number of digits on the end. We could also put our dates and our times in here as well. So we're going to set it up from there. And at that point, you're ready to scan.
All right, back again. Thanks very much. Any comments once again from the panel? Mr. Andrew, I think you had, yep, there you go.
The folder name, I totally forgot that creates a folder. I'm going to go back and use that because it's super handy, and I appreciate you reminding me of something that it can speed things up a lot.
Yeah, and the auto naming for being able to insert a field and with no database programming knowledge needed. You know, just pick a field, insert a time date stamp or an auto numbering convention, and away you go.
Good deal. Thanks again, guys. And I think Jerry, you're up next, right? I don't think you've done one yet. So, Jerry, your presentation is entitled Color Replacement and File Reduction. And I found this to be extremely helpful, Jerry. So the floor is yours. Thanks again.
Yeah, my next image tip is for using the color reduction tools to reduce the large format scan file size. This is also a great tool for removing background discoloration from old maps and pictures. So let's go ahead and take a look at this tip.
Many of our users will be familiar with our Next Image software for the scan or the copy modules, but maybe not so familiar with our file application module. This allows you to work with existing images or other scan projects you may have inherited from other users. And if what you see here on the screen is an engineering blueprint, but that could certainly do with some cleanup, and it would be fine if it was a nice black line work engineering drawing with a nice clean white background. And we'd also like to go ahead and keep some of our red markup here. Now, in our image adjustment, we could change this to a grayscale 8-bit file. We could also select to make this a monochrome 1-bit file. But if we wanted to go ahead and keep our color work, we can change this to an indexed or a 256 color image, and we can even further reduce that down to say 16 colors, and we can merge some of those colors together. We can also use the software to redefine. So our markups, we're going to make our basic red, and the beiges and browns that we have as our background white information, we'll merge those all together, and then we'll redefine those as our white background. What we're left with is a few blues and grays that we can then bring together, and we can redefine that as our black line work. Now what we have is a 3-color black and white image with a red markup line. We could save this to our original file, or we can also save this to a new file that we have with an auto naming numbering sequence here. And if we open up the original, we still have our true color old blueprint, but we also have our new adjusted image with our white background, black line information, and our red markup. This is something that you can do to reduce some colors on some 24-bit color images, and also prepare some drawings for importing into CAD files as raster layers. I hope this helps.
Okay, back again. That was excellent, Jerry. Thank you. Any comments from the panel? I think, Doyle, you had something.
I did. It's an overlooked feature within the software. Not everybody needs a palette that is equal to what a TIFF uncompressed file would be for something as simple as a spot color markup drawing. A lot of times 16 colors, 8 colors, 32 colors is ample to reflect that there is color on a drawing, and that's what you're looking for, is the separation. And there's 2 ways to compress files. One of them is through file compression, but the other one is the reduction of colors, and this is a very nice way to do it.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Doyle. The tip about taking taking a palette and mapping colors to the palette to reduce the amount of colors and therefore the file size, which is extremely important. We hear it all the time in large format scanning. You know, there are people who want to scan things at 600 DPI, and it's just, especially for scanning technical documents, just not usable. But that's a great tip, Jerry. Thanks. Andrew?
Yeah, and you just don't need 16 million shades of the red pen or the yellow highlighter.
Yeah, exactly.
And being able to dial it in, say for 16 or 32 colors for map scanning and things like that, it's really a great tool.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're scanning a large job and that amount of time you use to set up those files is going to save you so much on the back end. And again, file reduction.
Well,
Andrew?
also the maps is a great point, because most maps are set up with a legend that has a color green for land and blue for water, and you want all the blue to be the same. And doing the color reduction can bring all those different parts of the map to the exact same color and makes a map that much better.
Yeah. My vote for the best one of the day. I don't know. That was a good one, Jerry.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's see. We've got number 5. I think this is who's doing this one? Is this this is Doyle, right? Yeah. This is simple file cleanup. So Doyle, this is yours. The floor is yours, Doyle.
Thanks.
No matter how good your scanner is, you're going to have some originals that have a challenge that even with the best optics in the wide format scanning industry, we're going to pick up things like this toner edge here and some loose spray. We don't want to commit this file, even though it's exactly accurate to what the original looks like. We don't want to commit this file to our library or our archive with these flaws in it. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to go in and remove the background, take out the toner spray. We're going to bring up the line work in the lighter areas, and we're going to align the file, and then we're going to crop out the area that we don't want. And I'll show you how fast this can be done here. So we're going to take the white point in. That's going to take our background and fade that out. It cleans up that area. We'll zoom in and have a look here in the lighter areas on the text. We're going to bring that up with the black point. So the black point and the white point are effectively separating the background and the foreground in the image. So what we want to do now is we're going to grab 2 points on a line here, and we're going to tell it that this should be straight by clicking the apply button, and it changed it 1.9 degrees to the right. Now all we have to do is crop the drawing. We'll bring it in using normal crop commands. And at that point, all we have to do is click the Save button. And the file has effectively been changed and is saved in this manner.
And we're back. Thank you, Doyle. Another great one. I love especially the straightening image, the cropping tool, all those, very simple tools, but effective ways to clean up files. Any other comments from the panel?
Well, yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate how easy it was, how simple you made it
You made it look easy, Doyle.
Yeah, it was just a couple of clicks and a couple of tools, and the way improved drawing.
Yeah, and all those steps in just a few seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Looks like you've done it before, Doyle.
Once or twice.
Once or twice.
Makes it look easy. It is easy.
Okay. All right. So now the last tip and trick. Here we are at the end already. Andrew is going to present this one, and it's entitled The Value of White Balance, Point, and Color Scans. Once again, I think really important, effective. The floor is yours, Andrew. Go for it.
I'll get my scanner warmed up. Let's go. For this tip, I'm going to have already start with next image open. I'm going to scan something I think everybody else has hopefully seen before. I'm going to press scan here. I'm going to scan the calibration card in my scanner. For those of you the graphics units, you recognize this. And what we'll see is in the color photo default section. Now, normally you just use this target for calibration, but I want you to understand that this is an example of the level of whiteness that we deal with in different scans. The calibration card has this cute little barcode over here that says that had a spectrophotometer view the white point on this and the black point on this calibration card, and that's what this is. And it reads the scanner reads this and the white areas and the black areas and matches up to do its calibration for its white and black. That's how it knows things work. But that being said, if I look at this scan and if I try a more traditional color scan, I'm going to put this drawing in. Take my batch and tell it to scan. The white point for a dingy piece of paper, 20-pound bond that all of our CAD guys are actually printing on, is way different than our calibration card. And if I just go into here under options and select the image adjustment function, I have a function for levels. And what's super important is this white point. Okay, let me click the auto real quick and let's see what we get. Okay, we auto the white point, and if I change this from color photo to the standard color CAD and map, okay, I get a difference. They changed the GAM of 1.8, and the white point moves down to 200. But you know, I seem to like this particular bond is a really crappy bond. I've got another setting here. Let me switch over to that. And I've adjusted my black point up because I know where that's going to be to get to the black, and the same thing for my white I adjusted. And this is a much more pleasing color scan, much more close to the original that we want to have come out. Additionally, one of the things that I get a lot of people will say, oh, I get these little streaks from debris that ends up in my scans, especially when I talk about older originals. The white point is going to balance that crap out. Okay, and typically what I get, so let's start with the next drawing. So this is a nice CAD drawing. It's a white and color print, but you'll also get a bunch of older yellowing style scans. The image is never. Oh, okay, it's fine. Okay, we'll start scanning the next drawing. You end up with drawings like this, right? A little bit older, they've aged on paper, they turn kind of yellow, but you still need to get those highlights and you just got to scan them in color. Now this drawing is actually all yellow, and I don't want it to print out yellow. So I may adjust my white point even further to bounce out the yellow background on the sheet. It's not changing anything on the drawing itself that's valuable, but when I print it, I won't be using yellow ink to print old aged paper. Okay, so again, this is your biggest friend in doing scanning, and you really ought to work on understanding what it does for your scans. I mean, again, so that was some simple highlights, but let me just put in something. It's always, always, always about the end product. What does the customer want? What are they looking for? Okay, does this customer who wants this thing on Bob Seger's at last launches that article, or if he wants an Oscar nomination? Look, the color is different of the original already. So what do we can adjust it even more to get a much more white color, even on a newsprint. Okay, so does the color matter so much? Will this adjust your color? Yes, it'll definitely adjust your color because yellow we're getting rid of it. Okay, but it's really about the end product. Learn to adjust your white point. Okay, this is closer to the original, but nobody wants it. Everybody wants it somewhere around here. Okay, so that they can have a good product to sell. Learn your white point. Recognize that you can use presets to set for different kinds of drawings and get excellent results.
And we're back. Beautiful, Andrew. Hey, I especially like the fact that you were brave enough to do a live scan in the middle of that tip. So you did 2 live scans. That was good. I liked it. So thank you, Andrew. Any more comments from the panel?
Sure, and I was just going to say that using the automatic black and white point settings is a great starting place for right before you start using those black and white point slider bar adjustments and things like that.
Yep.
It's really helpful.
So, yep.
Doyle?
Yeah, it's again back to the white points, black points. It's a feature that hasn't been in the software forever, and a lot of old-time context users miss it. We see a lot of people playing with some high-end contrast and gamma and a few things like that, but it's been very simplified for the common user for black points and white points to do 99% of what you need to do.
Yeah, good point. Andrew, thank you. I think, you know, if you the last several tips there had to do with white balance or white point balance, and I think if you're a novice user, I think it's important that you experiment with that. If you're scanning old, crummy technical documents, that's just a tremendous image setting tool and tip for you there. So thank you, gentlemen. That concludes today's Tips and Tricks webinar. I want to thank everyone for logging on and spending some time with us. We hope you enjoyed the session, and more importantly, we hope you have some good takeaways from it. So, and I'd like to thank the entire panel for being here. Jerry, Doyle, Andrew, it was a great time. And if you have any questions, we're sorry that this was pre-recorded, but we'd love to hear from you. Look at the banner on scrolling across the bottom of the screen, info@azon.com, or our website or our phone number. And we look forward to the next session. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks very much, everybody.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, attendees, I hope you enjoyed National Azon's pre-recorded presentation there. As you heard at the end there, of course, if you have questions, you can reach out to Azon yourself. They'll be happy to answer your questions, and I know they provided a lot of information in that presentation. We are to our last presentation for today. Thank you for attending, and if you are just joined us, we're going to hear from Keith Cox of Synex. Keith, if you will turn on your camera, I will put the spotlight on you, and we can get you going.
It says that I can't do it. You've got me turned off.
Oh, sorry.
Start my video. There we go.
Okay. Excellent.
Nobody needs to see me anyhow, you know.
We all want to see you, Keith.
It's a face only a mama could love, you know.
Great. Well, Keith, we are delighted to have you here. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for Synex's support of APDSP for many years. And we look forward to your presentation. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. As long as we can do this, share my screen thing, we're going to be in good shape. So, hello, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Keith Cox. I'm with Synex. And part of my presentation is going to introduce you to TD Synex, which has been a change in just the last couple months. So, without further ado, let's do that. And we're going to go into some new product areas today that have just come up in the last couple months, and have also come as a result of why we're called TD Synex. So let's see if we can do this and make it work. Let's see. What do I want to share? I guess I need to bring it up on my screen. I'm not a Zoom expert. I'm better at Teams, Ed. So
that's all right, Keith. We're among friends. Take your time. So you see the screen share item in the bottom?
Yeah, I saw that, but
okay.
Okay, let me try again. It did have what it. Okay. All right. I think we're good.
All right.
You tell me what you see, and I'll know that I'm at the right place.
We still see just you. So once you find the screen that you want to share, then you hit that second button that says share.
Oh, okay.
See that?
Well, let's try it this way. Okay, there we go. All right. I think we're good now.
Yes, exactly. It
Nope.
started your screen share. Great.
Okay, so what do you don't see the PowerPoint though.
We don't see the PowerPoint because it looks like you shared your regular full screen.
Yeah, let me come back again to do this. It looked like I had the right thing. So let's do the stop share screen, window. I see the PowerPoint in the window.
Yeah.
I click on it, say share.
There you go. Now we're good. We see it now.
The
Yep.
PowerPoint. Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. All right, and I'm going to go into present mode. And I know y'all are just really impressed with all the technical ability I have. You know, I mean, the guy before me was talking about how he dared scan a couple drawings live. You know, just putting me live with a PowerPoint in a Zoom meeting, that's an experience in and of itself. So, but welcome all. I have a couple of new products to talk with you about, as well as some existing products and a little story about why we're TD Synex. So say hello to TD Synex. For those of you who don't know, back in early September, Synex and Tech Data officially merged. The original merger was announced last February, and I can tell you that while we're all one company now, we're a bunch of teams working really hard to try to make two different systems work together. And I got to tell you that I basically this morning closed my first Tech Data product and took the purchase order and it's actually going to ship. So that I think that's a minor success. So the product lines are coming together. It's taken a little time. We're all meeting new teammates and all that. The important thing is that if we have something that you want that Synex didn't have, that Tech Data does, that we get that to you and we make it as painless for you as possible. Because that's part of the equation. So there's some product opportunities coming when we get this a little bit more streamlined. One of the things that you're going to find, Synex is going to carry the Apple line of products. So we'll have everything from the iPhones to iPads to MacBooks, that type of thing. So that's going to be pretty exciting because that's something that a lot of people have asked us about over the years, and we really weren't able to offer that. Secondly, for those of you who have an interest or any kind of touch with Autodesk, we'll have AutoCAD products, and that would also include their BIM 360 products, which is just kind of personal to me because what I do is I basically work with the groups like Ed and some of the other groups like RSA, for example. But I also handle the job site tech component for Synex. So that is any kind of job site technology that's used in the AEC space is under my bailiwick. So when we talk about that, or when I talk about being excited about Autodesk, it's from that perspective more so than the overall print perspective. Lastly, one of the product areas that is I was surprised that came with such velocity. I have no other way to explain that to us is document imaging, and that Tech Data was one of the few distributors that carried the Fujitsu product, the Fujitsu line of document imaging scanners. So we're talking about A4 style low and high speed production scanners, as well as the Kodak scanners, which are all high speed production scanners. And apparently there's a good marketplace there. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. Lastly, with the combination of the two companies, we become a $57 billion company. I can't even believe I work for a company that big. I've always been working for folks that, they're just 2 or 3 people, and we're working our butts off just to help y'all. But to say it safely, got technology coming out of our ears. And if there's anything you have a question about, I believe that, if I can't help you, I can find somebody that can. So let's jump into the document imaging products. And these are the lines that we picked up through the Tech Data merger. Fujitsu is obviously the most popular line, considered by many of most document imaging specialists to be, the cream of the crop in terms of, the best scanner available out there. Fujitsu is an aggressive company in selling that scanner, in the sense that, when they sense a reseller opportunity, they support the heck out of you. They have a program that's benefit laden to your company in terms of gift cards and incentives that if you see this marketplace as a place you want to work in, they're very friendly in that area. But that's not to say the others aren't. Kodak Alaris is pretty much a production scanner. We're talking about in the somewhere in the 15,000 and up scanning capability. The ones that seem like they do 1,500 pages a minute. They don't really do that, but it seems like they do, as well as duplex scanning and OCR and ICR, and anything that would be out there for your backfile conversions. They're perfect for that type of thing. Naturally, we carry Canon as well, and Canon is a full line dealer, or a full line manufacturer of document scanners, as well as Epson, Brother, Amber Technology, and Visioneer. Visioneer, I believe, at one time was owned somewhere along the line by Xerox. I don't know if they still are. We're learning some more and more about these products, but the document imaging and management world is a growing. It continues to be a growing business. Let's talk a little bit about that. So there's target markets, right? Anybody that's running printers, copiers, or MFPs, is probably a prospect, for document imaging, because, what you're really trying to do is capture the paper and, digitize the paper in that sense. When I was first introduced to the Tech Data folks that handled this, I was going to a city and they said, I said, "What can I help you in that city anywhere? Do you want me to call on anybody?" And they said, "Well, do you know Dobbs Tire?" And I had no idea who Dobbs Tire was, and I didn't really suspect that there would be a document imaging application found in a tire store. Well, Dobbs Tire is like any other tire store you have in different areas. This one just happens to be in St. Louis, and what they do is when you buy your tires, you get an invoice, and the corresponding paper invoice that is produced by the store goes immediately in a scanner. So Dobbs Tire has like 25 stores, from what I understand. So that was 25 reasonably decently priced scanners. So it was a great opportunity for some reseller when they sold Dobbs Tire the whole concept of document imaging. But that's just one area. Healthcare, government, education. We know so much is going on in that place, in those spaces, especially healthcare, where, when was the last time you went to the doctor and he came in holding a tablet in his hand? And not one did you write on him with a paper or a ballpoint pen, but an electronic tablet. All your records are being converted over. They're going through the proverbial digital transformation from paper to digital records, for easy access through databases. Government and education are also interesting markets. When I talk about government in this sense, I'm really referring to municipal governments because there is where most of the focus has been in trying to bring document imaging and capturing paper and saving space, to be honest with you. One of the interesting things, I just heard about a reseller who had an opportunity in a municipality. It is turning into a rather large service opportunity for this reseller, and as a result, they'll have to gear up in order to actually complete this. But the interesting thing that I heard from them is that this money that the government or the municipality was spending was COVID money earmarked from the federal government that they were able to use for only certain things. And document management, document imaging was one of those things. So an easy way to fund a project that way. And obviously, don't forget some of the other areas: manufacturing, legal. My wife prints up just a hurricane full of paper every day. She's a paralegal, and I become the de facto IT since we're all working from home, right? And it's not unusual to hear, "Hey, I got all these prints I have to do, and my printer's not working." So it's a good thing she's married to somebody that's actually in the print industry. So I help that, and every one of those prints ends up getting scanned, not filed in a paper file. So financial services, banking, those type of areas been going on for a long time. I mean, when was the last time you actually received checks back in the mail with your bank statement? Everything now is an image. What's really good about this particular segment is all the manufacturers provide really effective sales tools, the case studies, the kind of things that that help you, PowerPoints, success stories, those kind of things. The support from the manufacturer in this realm is very strong. And while you're scanning, maybe on an office level or maybe even a regional level, those enterprise-wide and digital transformation, those folks that talk about that and talk about that kind of focus, disaster recovery. What are you doing with your forms processing? How are we going to, experiment with changing the workflow to capture data, or set up an audit trail necessarily for what's going through our particular organization. Scanners can be added to practically any environment, whether it's small format or as in the presentation before me in the wide format world. So lots of things and stuff. That's things and stuff is stuff and things. I mean, it's a very healthy area, and I was kind of surprised. I thought that it had declined, but it has not. Tech data will tell you that there are multi-million dollars worth of scanners sold every year. So it's something that if you have an interest, I'll have my contact info on the last slide. Please call me. Let's talk about it. Or if you run across it, give me a holler. Happy to help. So let's switch gears and go to another product. Whoop, went the wrong way. There we go. So coming soon. So many of you, in the organization have, you heard me talk about 3D scanning. I know Ed sponsored another 3D scanning webinar not terribly long ago. We've had a panel discussion about 3D scanning. Well, we've been doing 3D scanning now for 4 or 5 years, and primarily it's with the Leica line. But there's a high cost to getting into that particular line, and you have to be very specific. And you really, in order to be successful, you really have to make an investment, not just in equipment, but in people and knowledge. Well, along comes Matterport, and Matterport does the same thing as a laser scanner, except it might only be 85% of what the laser scanner actually does. If a laser scanner is, measured in how many millimeters, it is accurate. The Matterport product, which is basically a camera, is measured in centimeters. So, what we're finding is that, with a lower cost of entry into a product like this, people like yourselves who have contacts in architectural, engineering, and construction firms can more easily take this technology to your customers and leverage that relationship than they can a laser scanner, because this will do about 85% of everything that laser scanner is going to do, unless of course you need that pinpoint accuracy. So if you're just looking to capture the as-built conditions, you want to set up photos and set up hyperlinks, back to specifications or drawings that correspond to what's behind the walls or underneath the concrete. You can do the same thing with this device. And at $27.95 retail, it's very affordable. So the other neat thing about it is that, you'll be able to, do virtual walkthroughs. And you may have heard of Matterport through the real estate industry. If you've ever looked at a home in another city and you've gone through the 3D walkthrough, you've probably gone through a Matterport setup. And in that case, what Matterport does is they take the work out of the registration process that's normally a result of in laser scanning. They do that for you, and the data then lives in the cloud. I mean, you can always download it, but it gives you easy access to the data, so that when you need to show it to somebody or share it with somebody, it's done very easily through a link to the cloud. So that's one of the things that makes it even more special, because that expertise, once again, where you'd have to hire somebody that sits there and does all the registration and make sure that every image is lined up properly and that to survey standards. That's something you don't have to do. Basically, you sell the camera, you sell the subscription to the SaaS software, and the best part is, the subscription is commissionable. So the cloud-based project storage, you can make money on that while you're not doing anything. And that's one of the beautiful aspects of this particular product. Let's talk about it a little bit more. So we talked about 3D walkthroughs that you see through in the real estate area. There are accessories that you can add to the Matterport camera. You can create, it's just a software package that helps you create floor plans. I know one Reaper Graphics shop that recently, if he paid almost $500 to have a floor plan produced. It was produced by a guy with a Matterport camera, and that floor plan option cost that guy only cost the guy that produced it $12, but the guy that wanted the floor plan paid $500. So that was really interesting. He was a little sore when he learned about that. Naturally, you can do high resolution photos, so that if you wanted to, make sure that what people do is they take photos of a construction project as it's going, to identify where the electrical lines are, or identify where plumbing or the boxes are, so that and so that if anything ever happens, you don't play whack-a-mole going through the walls. So the photos are helpful. We'll talk, we talk a little bit more about that in Matter Tags. Virtual staging is also another area. Now, while we're focused mostly on AEC, there are options for this virtual staging. And if you go to the Matterport website, you'll see Starbucks coffee shops that have, that are basically selling, through their e-commerce site based on images taken within just a regular old Starbucks. Cost Plus World Market, if you have that store around anywhere in your vicinity, they've worked with Matterport. They come in, taking photos inside the store, and then coupled that with their e-commerce piece, so that you can click on the table, and that will send you via a hyperlink to their e-commerce side that gives you the price and the ability to order it. And that's kind of where all of this marries with Matter tags. That's the ability to take an object and tag it, whether it's on a construction site or whether it's in a retail store, or whether you're just identifying something in an area, extra space. If you're in a facilities management position, for commercial real estate, let's say, for example, or in an industrial situation. So you can do all those things. Naturally, this will also work with your virtual reality stuff. So you can do, put the goggles on, do immersive walkthroughs through different areas or training. And lastly, Matterport also, provides an API to tie in with other pieces of software, like, for example, that e-commerce thing we just talked about, or they also have an SDK that will enable you to go into software you may have developed and work together with that. But like I said, we're mostly working in construction. Capturing as-built is the biggest. As-builts are the biggest things. One of the other accessories that has just been introduced is a scan to BIM piece that they're making available. So a lot of people in the laser scanning world, they want to get that file and bring it into Revit and create a model out of it. Well, if you're doing that as a service, that means that you have to have an Autodesk license. You have to have somebody that knows how to do Autodesk. You have to know somebody that knows how to do BIM work. What Matterport's doing is you upload the files. They'll send you back a BIM 200 file that can go into Revit. And, that just makes it really simple. You just put your markup on top of it and, you invoice it out. It's really easy at that point. So Matterport's one that look for Cinex or TD Cinex to be offering that sometime within the next month. And if you have any questions about that, once again, please give me a call. Be happy to help you with it. Moving on. This is the last new product that we're going to talk about. And for those of you in the print industry, this is really something that's really kind of interesting. I've always been the proponent, because part of my job is to look for other sources of new money for folks in the print business. And digital signage has always been a big one. Well, this is a different type of digital signage. It's an external LED, much like the billboards you see, the video billboards on the side of the road, except these are really designed for individual businesses. They're smaller. They come in 3 different viewing distance type resolutions, if you will, or pitch size to make it look, more graphics or finer resolution would be, I guess, the best way to put it. Target markets: gas stations, retail stores, education, houses of worship. And the last time I talked to somebody about this, this particular reseller pointed out that it seems like every church that she sees is putting up some sort of a video sign out in front that invites parishioners or the congregation in. So as I said, there's multiple sizes for viewing distance. Just depends on how much quality you want. The higher the quality, the more money it is. It's all rated to withstand cold, heat, sunlight, darkness, obviously. But rain, snow, sleet. It's fine for all those environments. They're tiled modules. I think they're 18 by 18, and they snap together. Each one has their own individual power, so you can lose power in one and still operate. Basically, you can use Samsung's cloud-based content manager, and get started all on your own without investing in any other type of software. But it does solve pain points for customers. You can customize the ads at any time for any season. You know, we're moving from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas very quickly here. You know, you can combine those with paper signs to make those, or, you know, printed signs to make those, you know, make those pop even more, and, you know, be something that catches folks' eye. Changing the content is easy. You know, it just becomes a resource on your network. So you're just sending graphic images down. And the really nice part, Samsung provides the installation and tech support. You know, they may not provide it directly. They have a series of partners all around the country. They know that you're not going to bring a crane in to hang a sign at the top of a pole, or that you're going to do the masonry work that surrounds a brick sign. And so, you know, what they're looking for is folks that, you know, can bring them the opportunities, and they will work to help you close that opportunity. They have been more helpful in this product than any other time that in the last 10 years and it's saying a lot, that I've ever seen from Samsung. You know, normally they say, here's a display, thank you very much. These guys are really involved and obviously want to make it a success. Here's a couple examples of the styles. Obviously, you know, something that's, you know, that's built as a monument. It can be one-sided or two-sided. You know, you just have to get power to it. And if you're bringing power to it, you can set it up as a wireless, you know, a wireless resource on your network, or you can wire it out because you're bringing power. And since you're bringing the power out through the conduit, you can have the network cable there as well. Elevated signs, they can be dual-sided or single-sided as well. The first one that we talked about was a 30-foot high sign for an ATV dealer up in Minneapolis. You know, that one is approximately $50,000. Or wall-mounted signs. The one that we have been working on with a reseller up in Wisconsin was an existing sign an existing monument sign inside of a brick monument, but the sign was static. We're taking out the sign, putting in the video sign. There's a little bit of work trimming the masonry work and then bringing power. But that whole deal will come in at about $20,000. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of folks that want to help. A lot of technology out there, and this is just some of the stuff that's come to my attention in the last last 90 days that have really sparked. One thing I might add about Samsung, their collaterals. You know, they have a battle card that helps you sell. They've got specific collaterals for education, houses of worship, retail establishments, those kind of things. So the support materials are great as well. In any case, that's what I have for you today. I want to thank you so much for your time and attention. Really enjoyed it. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer that. Or please reach out to me either by phone or email and let me know, and I'm happy to help. And
Great.
that's
Thank
what
you.
I have for you.
Right. Thank you very much, Keith. I really appreciate that presentation. Lots of great ideas in there for how our members can make some more money, especially that LED signage at the end. That to me is a money maker waiting to happen.
Really popular.
Well, I'm sure.
One of the other things I need to mention about that, if you have an interest in that, and I forgot to say this, Samsung has like a suitcase. They send one of the panels out, and it becomes your demo. You know, I mean, you don't have to pay for it or anything. They'll send it out. You can show it. They'll help you set it up, and then just ship it back.
That's great. Super easy. Good. Well, thank you very much, Keith. Thank you, attendees and other panelists. This is the end of our full day of trade show. I hope you learned a lot. And remember that all of these videos have been recorded and will be posted on the APDSP site shortly. So with that, we are done for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed.